Chapter 1531. You don't believe me? Whales seemed unhappy. He raised his upper body and lifted Gu Mengmeng by the collar, lifting her feet off the ground, as if he was grabbing a little chick. He shook her for a while, and watched Gu Mengmeng swinging around his hand like a pendulum. He chuckled and said mysteriously, "Look, you have Snake's mark on the back of your neck, right? I heard he's dating you over there. According to that fellow's character, you won't be able to run away and you'll definitely have to marry him. I'm his father. Am I also your father?" Gu Mengmeng followed Whale's words and thought, it seemed to be the case. Looking at the development of Snake and Gu Mengmeng in the dream world, there was probably no other possibility for her. But how should she put it? Although they had the same face, the same name and even the same past experiences and memories, the Gu Mengmeng in that space was not herself. So Gu Mengmeng still felt that she could not recognize this father. "Sometimes I really feel that your little mouth, haha. Tell me, is it because your mouth is straight or is it because of fate? You wanted me to lie to Cole and say that the reason I'm not afraid of you anymore is because I mated with Wang Xiaoxin. Ha ha ha. Didn't I mate with her? If not, where did Snake come from? But, I can't find her." With that, little shit let go of his hand and Gu Mengmeng fell vertically. Elvis quickly caught hold of Gu Mengmeng. He frowned and looked at Whales unhappily. Gu Mengmeng patted Elvis's shoulder and shook her head, saying, "He has been holding it in for thousands of years. It's good to let him get drunk and vent his frustrations." Elvis did not say anything and just quietly placed Gu Mengmeng on the ground. Then, he sighed and quietly stood a step away from Gu Mengmeng, so that he could protect her when Whales went crazy again. Leah hugged Elvis's shoulder and said, "Put yourself in my shoes. If Gu Mengmeng insists on leaving through the doors of time and space tomorrow, would you stop her?" "Stop me?" Elvis gritted his teeth. "Leah, what if you can't stop her?" Elvis frowned and said, "Follow." Lee's smile widened and he asked again, "What if she doesn't?" Elvis's brows furrowed into a dead knot, but his voice turned cold as he said calmly, "Die." Leah nodded in agreement. "Both of us have the same thoughts. Whales was the same back then. But you know what happened in the end. That woman tore off the scales protecting his heart and dug out his heart." Elvis felt a tug in his heart as he felt a strange sense of empathy. He loved Gu Mengmeng and was willing to die for her. He was not afraid of death, but if the reason she wanted him to die was to leave, the so-called heart-wrenching and bone-biting was nothing more than this. Looking at Whale's wavering drunken state, Elvis suddenly felt a sense of empathy. He turned to look at Leah and smiled. "We are different from him. Xiaoming is still soft-hearted." Leah nodded in agreement. "That's right. Our luck lies in the fact that Mengmeng's world doesn't have any worries that Mengmeng can't let go of, and that Mengmeng can't bear to see us. Therefore, although he is powerful, he is just a pitiful person." Chapter 1532. Leah was taken aback and instinctively looked at Gu Mengmeng. Standing behind Whales, Gu Mengmeng also tilted her head and pointed at her own nose, saying, "I told him." Whales turned back with a sharp gaze, scaring Gu Mengmeng so much that she shrank her neck. He did not ask anything and Gu Mengmeng confessed herself, saying honestly, "The beast deity told me." Gu Mengmeng repeated the version of the story that the beast deity told her about Wang Xiaoxin and Whales, word for word. Then, she looked at Whales quietly for a while before asking, "What's wrong? Did the beast deity say something wrong?" Whales seemed to have sunk into deep thought. She did not know if it was because the alcohol had gotten to his head and caused him to be slow or his thoughts had flown elsewhere. Anyway, he was just dazed for a long time before he suddenly laughed, a very joyful kind of laughter. He held Gu Mengmeng's shoulders with both hands, his eyes shimmering with tears as he asked word by word, "The beast deity really said that she was waiting for me?" Gu Mengmeng nodded blankly, saying, "What's wrong? Things between the two of you are not like this?" Whales slowly closed his eyes as tears flowed down from the corners of his eyes. His lips were still curled up with a smile that made one's heart ache for him. "Little shit, are you all right?" Gu Mengmeng's heart ached for Whales as she looked at him. Whales nodded and said, "I'm fine. I can't be any better. Knowing that she is waiting for me, I did not waste these 1,000 years. Come, Gu Mengmeng, have a drink with me." This word "me" made Gu Mengmeng feel at ease all of a sudden. Regardless of whether he was called Wabi or Whales, he was still her little shit. Just like what Leah had said, if Whales was Wabi's true form, then she should accept him. Although he was not as cute as Wabi and was so arrogant and awkward, no matter what, as long as he was little shit, he was still her friend. Crossing 1,000 years and becoming friends with the husband of the previous messenger of the beast deity, Snake's father. This could really be considered as forgetting the difference in age. Gu Mengmeng raised her wine glass and clinked it with Whales without a word, saying, "A toast to you, to congratulate you on your return." Cheers. Whales didn't stand on ceremony either. He downed the cup of wine without leaving a single drop behind. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to say that wine was not sorghum liquor, it was really not the way to drink it. But little shit's current state. Forget it, as long as he's happy drinking, why bother with the method of wine tasting? Being carefree was the most important thing. Whales hugged Gu Mengmeng's neck and said in a brotherly manner, "Gu Tumeng, help me do something in the future. I will help you even if I have to go through mountains of daggers and seas of fire, alright?" Gu Mengmeng smiled. This Whales acted so cold when he came back, but after a few barrels of wine, his little shit nature was revealed. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have worried about him in the morning. She should have just fed him 2 buckets and see if he would still be so arrogant. However, as long as little shit could come back, she would not be angry at him. After all, when she first inherited Snake's memories, her personality changed for a long time. Little shit had only been awkward for half a day, so he could be forgiven. So Gu Mengmeng raised her head and said in a very righteous manner, "What's our relationship? Was there even a need to talk about this? Tell me, what do you want me to do?" Little shit chuckled and said, "To seduce Cole." Chapter 1533. Whales waved his hands carelessly and said, "Who asked you to really sleep with him? TSK so stupid. How can I push my own daughter-in-law onto another male's bed? Do you think I am a fool?" Gu Mengmeng suddenly felt speechless. Her relationship with Snake was very subtle, but she really did not seem to be worthy of being called daughter-in-law by Whales. "I just want you to plot against Cole once, to make him fall in love with you. Fall in love with you wholeheartedly, because only then can his heart be used." Whales smiled in a drunken haze, with the unique craftiness and malevolence of the Snake tribe. With a face full of schemes, he said, "Do you know where the spirit of the rocky cliffs is?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head, but she had a question in her mind. Could it be that the spirit of the rocky cliffs was related to Cole? Whales seemed to have seen through Gu Mengmeng's thoughts, so he smiled and nodded his head, saying, "The spirit of the rocky cliffs is a derivative of the soul of the forest. For a tree to grow, it needs to absorb nutrients, and Cole is that nutrient now." Gu Mengmeng looked at Whales in confusion. Whales let out a drunken burp, but didn't say anything. He only stretched out a finger and pointed at the air, saying, "The soul of the forest originally had 2 leaves, one on the left and one on the right. Both of them can save lives. They can grow flesh from bones and bring the dead back to life. Yes, that's it. But actually it still has a 3rd leaf. Only when this 3rd leaf grows out and fully unfurls, will the spirit of the rocky cliffs appear." As Whales spoke, he swayed to Gu Mengmeng and placed both his hands on her shoulders. He tried to make his gaze look serious, but Gu Mengmeng only saw his drunken expression. "This first leaf is called benevolence, the second is called kindness, the third is called love. So if you want the spirit of the rocky cliffs to appear, you have to make Cole fall in love with you, love you so much that he is willing to die for you. Only then will the 3rd leaf of the soul of the forest unfurl." With that, Whales let go of Gu Mengmeng's hand and stared straight at his palm. "Only when you gather all 7 treasures can I be truly revived, and then I can see her 1,000 years. I have wasted a whole 1,000 years." Whales let go of Gu Mengmeng's hand and stared straight at his palm. Gu Mengmeng puffed up her cheeks and thought for a long while before shaking her head. "I don't understand. Why must Cole fall in love with me before the 3rd leaf will bloom? Because you won't love him." Whales seemed to have thought of a particularly funny thing. His eyes were filled with an amused smile as he said, "Do you know what is the most painful torture in this world?" Gu Mengmeng replied, "Parting forever." Gu Mengmeng had experienced these 4 words from Snake, and again from Gregory. It could be said that she was deeply moved by them. Wales shook his head and said, "Parting in life and death is a sad thing. The so-called sad thing is that although it is difficult, it will pass. Just like me, I have been suffering for 1,000 years, but when I think about how I can return to her side soon, I feel that this 1,000 years of suffering is just an instant." Wales paused before looking at Gu Mengmeng. "When Snake died, you must have been in great pain. But has that pain faded to the point that you can't even remember it? So, the most torturous thing in this world is not parting forever, because although it is painful, it will eventually be forgotten, and it will slowly get better." Chapter 1534. Wales laughed coldly and said, "You can't get what you want." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback and did not understand what he meant. Wales said, "As long as Cole falls in love with you and you don't love him, this torture will stimulate the growth of the 3rd leaf of the soul of the forest. The more painful he is, the faster the leaf will grow. When the 3rd leaf fully blooms, his heart, which is used as nourishment, will be sucked dry and become as hard as a rock, becoming the spirit of the rocky cliffs." Gu Mengmeng frowned and her heart was filled with lingering fear. Not because of anything else, but because the soul of the forest had been placed on Qishuan's body from the start. Gu Mengmeng's brows were tightly knitted together. She had always thought that the 7 treasures were all life-saving items, and did not expect the 3rd leaf of the soul of the forest, which represented life force, to be such a deadly thing. Then when Cole placed the soul of the forest into Qishuan's body, did he know the truth or was it an accident? If he knew, why did he then place the soul of the forest into his body? If he did not know, impossible. Cole's understanding of the 7 treasures was far above Gu Mengmeng's. He could not have placed the soul of the forest into Qishuan's body without knowing anything. So Cole must be plotting something. Is there any way to let the 3rd leaf bloom and obtain the spirit of the rocky cliffs without the person who is used as nourishment to die? Gu Mengmeng asked. Wales nodded and answered honestly, "Yes, if you truly fall in love with him, cut out half of your heart and give it to him, he will not have to die." After Wales finished speaking, he laughed and looked at Gu Mengmeng asking, "Do you know? If you fall in love with Cole, cut out your heart to continue his life." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "No." Wales nodded approvingly and said, "So Cole is dead for sure." Gu Mengmeng was not as optimistic as Wales. She could not understand Cole's motive for doing this. She did not believe that someone like Cole would risk his life for no reason. Could it be that Cole was so naive to think that Gu Mengmeng would cut out her heart to save him? Yes, because Qishuan's life was tied to his. Gu Mengmeng might really cut out half of her heart to give it to Cole for her son. But the problem was that there was an important prerequisite for such a life extension. She had to truly fall in love with him. Heh, this is even harder than cutting out the heart. Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, "I feel that Cole should know the secret of the 3rd leaf of the soul of the forest, and he knows very well how much I want him to die. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for him to fall in love with me and allow the 3rd leaf to grow." Wales shook his head and said mysteriously, "Do you know why he hit Oriton?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head. Wales shrugged his shoulders and chuckled. "Because he was eavesdropping outside yesterday. He heard the sounds of you and Elvis mating, so he was angry, jealous, and went crazy. He didn't dare to be impudent in front of you, so he vented his anger on Oriton, who was alone." Wales nodded his head seriously, indicating that what he said was the truth. Then he said softly, "Let me tell you another secret. When I hit him, the snake's tail was stuck into his chest. The 3rd leaf had already sprouted a bud, so I only crippled him and didn't kill him." Gu Mengmeng stared at Wales, dumbfounded. Wales nodded his head seriously, indicating that what he said was true. "You mean?" Gu Mengmeng felt as if she had swallowed a fly. Wales nodded and said, "Cole loves you. He loves you so much that he is twisted, so ferocious, so much that he can't see the light of day. But he really fell in love with you." Digression. Chapter 1535. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips. She loathed Cole and even hated him. Every time he used Qixuan to threaten her, her hatred and disgust towards him would increase. She wished she could skin him alive and break his bones. But she still felt repulsed by using emotions to feign civility. Yes, it was undeniable that Wales was right. To the males in the beast world, not getting what you want was the most heart-wrenching thing. But this situation was really despicable and Gu Mengmeng did not want to involve herself in it. Wales stared at Gu Mengmeng for a long time, and understood the repulsion in her eyes. He took 2 steps back and said, "Now we have 6 out of the 7 treasures. We only lack the spirit of the rocky cliffs. Gu Mengmeng, I beg of you, as long as you help me this time, I, Wales, will owe you for the rest of my life." Gu Mengmeng knew about Wales and Wang Xiaoxin's relationship. It would be an exaggeration to say that she could empathize with him. You would never know how painful it was until you were stabbed. When the beast deity first told her this story, she already felt that Wales was very pitiful. After knowing that Wales was little shit, this feeling was magnified by many times. Little shit was an important friend of hers. She could not bear to see him go through a love crisis and return after narrowly escaping death, only to repeat the same mistake and fail on the verge of success. She could not bear to see him fail on the verge of success. But, is there no other way to get the spirit of the rocky cliffs? Gu Mengmeng asked. Wales shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "If the second leaf of the soul of the forest has not bloomed, then we just need to change the provider. For example, the Birdman on the Mota Mountains is very suitable. Unfortunately, the second leaf has already bloomed and the soul of the forest has already fused with coal. There is no way to retrieve it. Gu Mengmeng, you need to be moral towards good people. Why can't you do it to coal?" I know you don't like to make use of other people's love." Wales looked at Gu Mengmeng with pleading eyes. He said word by word, "But you have not done anything up till now. Isn't he still using his filthy thoughts to love you? Let me tell you, I am too familiar with the way coal looks at you. I have seen this look countless times 1,000 years ago. It is a crazy obsession, a twisted possessiveness and a sick desire. Even if you don't do anything, he won't let you go. Oriton was just the beginning. He had used harming the people around you to warn you not to disobey him and not to anger him. What about next time? Who could it be? Hutta and his brothers? Sandy? 16 golden hairpins? Or Leah, Elvis or anyone else who can coerce you?" Wales held on to Gu Mengmeng's shoulders with both hands and stared into her eyes. He said solemnly, "If you want to protect the people around you from harm, the best way is to strike first. Give him the illusion that there is hope between you and him. In order to maintain this hope, he will not dare to act rashly and hurt the people around you. What you have to do is not to take the initiative, not to refuse, and not to take responsibility. When his hopes climb to the peak, you could crush his hopes ruthlessly. As long as you were ruthless enough, the third leaf would definitely bloom. At that time, I can be with her again, and you can get rid of him completely. Other than Cole, no one will be hurt. And Cole only has himself to blame." Chapter 1536. She could not tell if it was because the purity of Sandy's wine was too low, or because Wales had the previous experience of drinking too much, so he could drink more than before. This time, he drank almost all the wine by himself, but he did not act crazily like the previous time. He just became more talkative, and his emotions became more agitated. Gu Mengmeng returned to her room and lay in between Elvis and Leah. Her 2 large tails covered her body, and she rubbed them from time to time. She stared straight at the ceiling, thinking about Wales' words. Leah and Elvis both knew what she was upset about, but Elvis was not good with words, so he did not say anything. He just gave Leah a look, indicating for him to comfort Gu Mengmeng. No matter what her decision was, they would support her. It was just that their hearts ached for her to be so upset. Leah gently tidied the stray hair on Gu Mengmeng's forehead. He said gently, "Mengmeng, actually Elvis and I do not support this honey trap." Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah, waiting for him to continue. Leah smiled. In the beast world, any problem should be solved by the males. Let's not talk about the fact that we at least have Elvis who can fight Cole to a draw. Even without the Beast King, the 2 of us should be the ones trying our best to mediate with Cole. There is no reason to push you out. Gu Mengmeng turned sideways and hugged Leah. She buried her face in his chest and said softly, I don't mind this. Leah patted Gu Mingming's back gently. I know you don't mind, but Elvis and I are also very embarrassed to always hide behind a female. But now is not the time to care about our pride. Of course, I can set up a trap for Elvis to kill Cole, and you don't even have to dirty your hands. But if the 7 treasures don't appear and Cole dies, then Qi Xian will definitely be buried with him. You can't bear to let Qi Xian go, and that is why we are holding back. Gu Mingming pursed her lips and nodded. I know, if I can be heartless and not care about Qi Xuan's life, you and Elvis will not have to be held back by him. But I really can't bear to sacrifice 2,000 to kill 1,000 enemies in the beast world. As long as I can achieve my goal, I will not care about the cost. Qi Xian is my flesh and blood. I can't bear to part with him. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, We know you can't bear to, and we won't do anything that will make you sad. Hence, Whale's suggestion seemed to be the only beneficial solution for now. Only then can the 7 treasures appear. Not only can it protect Qi Xian, but it can also stop Cole's crazy idea. Whales can completely revive Gu, and Gregory can also return. At the same time, it can also fulfill the 1,000-year relationship between Whales and Wang Xiaoxin. It can be said that there are many advantages and no disadvantages. Leah sighed and gave a self-mocking smile as he hugged Gu Mingming even tighter. He said, We all understand the logic, but I can no longer analyze everything clearly like I did 4 years ago and use logic to make the best choice. Mingming, I can't bear to see you suffer, not even a little bit. So if you don't want to do it, then don't. In any case, I'll be happy if that door never opens. Otherwise, I'll always feel uneasy. I'm afraid that if you walk through that door, I won't be able to find you again. Chapter 1537. Leah laid out the pros and cons for her to hear, but did not make the decision for her. Leah was telling her that no matter what her final decision was, he and Elvis would support her unconditionally, and would help her deal with the aftermath as usual. So, she could do whatever she thought she should do. That night, Gu Mingming tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Luckily, Gu Mingming's body had 2 of the 7 treasures supporting her, so she was not too tired after a night of not sleeping. But the next morning, a commotion came from the stone castle's entrance, causing Gu Mingming to frown. These days, there were really not many who dared to behave atrociously at her doorstep. Elvis carried Gu Mingming down from the 2nd floor, and saw a wild wolf and a wild fox tearing at each other at the stone castle's entrance. The scene was bloody, violent and strange. It was as if a Samoyed and a husky had both contracted rabies and were biting each other to death. But the wild wolf and the wild fox's battle was much more violent, and the scene was even more chaotic. Fox King is so imposing. Did you come to my doorstep to bully me? Gu Mingming's lukewarm words successfully stopped the battle. The wolf and the fox bared their fangs to intimidate each other, and slowly retreated to the sides under the orders of their respective kings. Cole's face was pale, and even though the wounds on his body had mostly healed, he still looked miserable. It was obvious that little shit had not been merciful yesterday. If not for the fact that the soul of the forest had a 3rd leaf on his chest, little shit would have killed Cole in a moment of hot-headedness without caring about Qi Xuan's life. Cole could be considered lucky to have escaped this calamity. Agu, you went to visit me yesterday, right? Cole's eyes seemed to be able to automatically block out everyone else, and only look at Gu Mingming. His smile was deep and sickly, and his voice was filled with anticipation, and carefully trying to please her. Gu Mingming took a deep breath without anyone noticing, and nodded. Yeah, I was stopped. A smile bloomed on Cole's face, and he was overjoyed. I have already killed the person who stopped you. I skinned him to make a cloak for you. You can wear it this winter. I have already given the order that no matter when, as long as you want to see me, no one will dare to stop you. The one who stopped her was an orc, not a wild fox. Gu Mingming's stomach churned and she frowned unhappily. Don't you know I went to settle scores with you yesterday? I know. Cole was still smiling and answered matter-of-factly. If he didn't stop me, you might not be alive to talk to me today. But Cole was unconcerned. He just took a step forward and said, Who knows? Maybe you couldn't do it when you saw how badly injured I was yesterday? He caused me to lose a chance to show weakness in front of you and gain your pity. Gu Mingming laughed coldly in her heart. Cole really could not differentiate between friend and foe. She was a person who wished for nothing more than for him to die. She could dig a bloody hole in his chest without blinking an eye. Even a fool could tell that the person who stopped her yesterday was sincerely protecting Cole. Otherwise, who would dare to stop two beast kings? Tell me, why are you here today? Gu Mingming pointed at the ground full of wolf foxes' corpses and said, "Surely you didn't do this just to dirty my place." Chapter 1538. Gu Mingming looked down at the ground littered with wolf and fox corpses. She frowned at Cole and asked, "This is the food you prepared for me?" Cole nodded and smiled. His "you don't have to be so touched" expression made Gu Mingming's teeth itch. "Don't you know that I don't eat snakes, wolves and foxes?" Gu Mingming's face was filled with impatience and sarcasm. Cole seemed to be surprised. He looked at Leah with a questioning gaze. Leah nodded in reply. Cole looked at Gu Mingming with a look of realization and said, "Because of your partner's race, you will also be gentle towards wild beasts? But Gu, as the messenger of the beast deity, if you take the lead in not eating wolves and foxes, then others will not dare to offend you. This way, foxes and wolves will overpopulate and lack natural enemies. Maybe in the future when you walk outside the tribe, you will see wild wolves and foxes running everywhere." Gu Mingming choked and was a little speechless. So Cole was saying that as the messenger of the beast deity, she would be a picky eater and disrupt the ecological balance of the entire beast world? Strangely, Gu Mingming thought of the Empress in the past television dramas. When the Emperor was eating, she said that he had eaten 3 mouthfuls and should stop eating. When the Emperor was drinking soup, she said that he had drunk too much and should stop drinking. The Emperor said, He Empress, let's sleep." The Empress said, "Your Majesty, you have to work hard and not be obsessed with women." Ha, if I were the Emperor, I would not like the Empress either. Gu Mingming looked at Cole like how the Emperor looked at the Empress. Standing on the side of justice, occupying the moral high ground, and doing it for your own good, as a weapon to coerce all your actions. This Cole really treated himself as Gu Mingming's first partner. Did he think Elvis was dead? Gu Mingming snorted in disdain. She turned to look at Elvis and asked, "Hubby, if I don't eat wolves and foxes, will the situation he mentioned really happen?" "No," Elvis answered calmly and said, "If there are too many foxes, I will order the wild wolves to kill them. If there are too many wolves, I will order the wolf pack to digest internally. As for the snakes, they have lived in the Snake King Valley for thousands of years, and have their own ecological cycle. They don't need outsiders to interfere." This outsider was naturally referring to Cole. Leah added, "Elvis is right, after all. That lord has already awakened, so the Snake Clan will naturally be under his command. Even if he's not free, there's still Mingming, the Holy Virgin, to take care of him. How can it be someone else's turn to bark?" She was scolding Cole for being a busybody. With a glance from Elvis, the wild wolves dragged all the corpses at the entrance of the stone castle away, clearing up the area. Although the corpse had been dragged away, the ground was still stained with blood. Gu Mingming clicked her tongue and said with a displeased expression, "I wanted to spend the winter in Solder this year, but now it's a mess and there's the smell of blood everywhere, so annoying. I'm leaving. I'll be returning to St. Nazaire this year to spend the winter." Agu. Cole did not expect Gu Mingming to be chased away by his ruckus, so he called out anxiously, "I will help you clean up the place and make sure there is no smell of blood. This year, it was better to stay in Solder for the winter. After all, there's an underground tunnel here, and you can still play with Sandy during winter. You won't be too bored, right?" Gu Mingming looked at Cole, as if she was thinking about something. Chapter 1539. I probably won't have time to play with Sandy this winter. Gu Mingming turned back to look at Cole, then at Lee's face. She smiled shyly and said, "I have the love of the sky and Leah has agreed to let me give birth to a nest of little foxes to play with." Cole's eyes reddened in an instant. He grabbed Gu Mingming's wrist and squeezed out a sentence through his teeth. "If you want to give birth to foxes, I will give birth to them with you. You are not allowed to mate with others." Gu Mingming glanced sideways at Cole. then looked at her wrist and chuckled. Cole, are you mistaken? You are not even my male. How can it be your turn to give birth to children with me? As long as you are willing, I will be your male. Cole looked at Gu Mengmeng with a ferocious stubbornness. Gu Mengmeng struggled to no avail, but she was not angry. Instead, she smiled and asked Cole, You are a stray beast. How can you be my male? MMM? Even without the mating mark, I can still impregnate you. Maya and Miranda are the best proof. Cole defended himself because he felt that Gu Mingming's words had a hidden meaning, as if she was giving him a chance. Hence he tried his best. He wanted this chance, a chance to stay by Gu Mingming's side. Ha! Gu Mingming sneered. Her clear eyes were filled with sarcasm and disgust. Don't you know that I have mysophobia? Why would I want someone else's used second-hand goods? Is your brain filled with hyaluronic acid? Did you even flatten the lines in your brain? Cole did not let go and said, You know that the Snow Fox tribe has no concept of chastity. But if you mind, I promise I will never touch other females in the future. You are the only one, all right? Gu Mingming did not say a word and just gave Elvis a look. Elvis's fists were already clenched tightly. Receiving Gu Mingming's signal, he raised his sharp claws and slashed at Cole's wrist. Cole's hand was broken by Elvis before, and he was traumatized by it. So when Elvis raised his claws, Cole immediately let go. Gu Mingming moved her wrist and chuckled. How much do you like me? It's just so-so. You let go when Elvis just moved his fingers. With that, Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. Hubby, let's go. Elvis's gaze was fixated on Gu Mingming's face, not even giving Cole a look of disdain. He kissed Gu Mingming's little nose dotingly and said, All right. Leah waved his tail and smiled elegantly when he passed Cole. Cole Fox, as King Cole and Cole. Cole Fox Fox Ant. Leah. Fox and Leah, T Cole Leah Leah at, T Leah Leah Wolf. So let's go back now. Elvis and I will go out and help you replenish some of your favorite fruits and vegetables. It won't be a problem to survive the cold. Goo goo, goo of goo. Goo 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 and to Cole of gooet, to say, and. Chapter 1540. Gu Mingming could not understand Cole anymore. She patted Elvis's shoulder, gesturing for him to put her down. Elvis did so. Gu Mingming took 2 steps towards Cole, and tilted her head to look at him. Do you know what price you have to pay to obtain the spirit of the rocky cliffs? I do. Cole answered without hesitation. Seeing Gu Mingming take 2 steps towards him, he smiled warmly. If you know you still. Cole took 2 steps forward and stood in front of Gu Mingming. He looked at Gu Mingming with a deep and resentful gaze. He smiled. Gregory also knows what price you have to pay to obtain the love of the sky. Didn't he still bring you up Mota Mountains? Do you think I am worse than him? Agu, let me tell you. My heart for you is firmer than anyone else. For you, I can do anything. Cole placed his hand over his heart. His lips curled into a devilish smile. Qixuan was trained by me. Do you really think he can hide his little tricks from me? Using bewitchment in front of me is no different from showing off in front of an expert. But I still let him do as he pleases. Why do you think so? Gu Mingming shook her head. She pursed her lips and did not say a word. Jiaoyu was right about one thing. You should never try to understand a lunatic's thoughts. Because you could not understand his logic. In Gu Mingming's eyes, the Cole before her was a complete lunatic. Just his plan to occupy the earth was enough for him to be locked up in the Green Mountain Lunatic Asylum for the rest of his life. Because I need a reason to treat you well openly. I need a reason to tell the world that I love you. Cole looked up and laughed. It was filled with arrogance and sorrow. His voice was a little hoarse and full of vicissitudes. Everyone says that I betray the world, ha? But when has the world ever treated me well? Agu, you only know that I don't treat Leah well. But do you know why I hate him and schemed against him? Cole looked back. His gaze locked onto Gu Mingming's face. Because my mother has the same bloodline as Miranda. Mother gave birth to 9 children. Only one of each child survived. Because the others were eaten by their fathers the moment they were born. Gu Mingming felt a chill in her heart and instinctively took a step back. And the reason why we are still alive is not because of the greatness of parental love, or the remaining kinship and humanity. Cole took a step forward and closed in on Gu Mengmeng. He suddenly raised his hand and pointed accurately at Leah. "We are alive to feed him." Leah nodded and said, "Let's eat him." "What?" Gu Mengmeng stared at Cole in disbelief. "Accident?" Cole smiled bitterly and shook his head. He pointed at Leah and slowly wrapped his arm around Gu Mengmeng's waist. Finally, he hugged her once, and she was so shocked that she forgot to struggle. Cole started to understand why Leah dared to reveal such a tragic and unbearable past in front of her. It was because only by tearing open his festering scars and letting her see his bloody scars would he be able to obtain her gentleness. And the tiny Gu Mengmeng had infinite warmth. As long as he hugged her like this, the heart-wrenching pain would be alleviated. The pure and flawless son of the deity, shouldering the prosperity of the Snow Fox tribe. In order to obtain more power, my parents left the most outstanding one among the 9 brothers alive. Then they personally skinned and broke their bones one by one to feed him. Aside from the topic, I said before, I want to kill Cole. And it was a soft knife cutting his flesh. The pain was endless and it was a killing that struck at his heart. Chapter 1541. Gu Mengmeng widened her eyes and suddenly turned to look at Leah. Lee's face was also as pale as a sheet. He took 2 steps back and shook his head with much difficulty, expressing his disbelief. Cole turned Gu Mengmeng's body and pressed her back tightly against his chest. With one arm around her waist and the other holding her chin, he forced her to look at Leah. He pressed his face against her ear and said seductively, like a snake demon bewitching Eve, word by word. "Otherwise, how do you think a 9th Highness who only knows how to research witch doctor spells and has no actual combat experience could rise to the 3rd level? Those brothers who suddenly disappeared, where did they go?" Lee's face turned paler. When he was still the 9th Highness, he was the pride of the entire Snow Fox tribe. His meals were all taken care of by professionals, and the food was all processed and served to him. There was no skin, fur, or broken bones in the food. The raw blood was also sent up in stone bowls. As for those brothers, in the beast world, it was normal for males to die in battle, so he did not think much about the death of a brother every 1 or 2 years. But now that Cole mentioned it, he recalled the crucial period of his level up. It really matched the time when his brothers disappeared. Ugh. Leah suddenly turned around and vomited while leaning against the wall. Leah had said before that he was not a kind person. All his gentleness and kindness were only given to Gu Mengmeng alone. He killed people like flies and never showed mercy. He placed everyone on the chessboard and calculated every possible move without regret. When he was at his craziest, it was not like he had not eaten orcs before. But his own brothers, biological brothers, he was actually cut into pieces by his parents and brought to him. He didn't even know that he was eating his own brother's flesh and drinking his brother's blood as he studied the witch doctor's method of saving people. Leah vomited until his bile came out. His eyes were bloodshot from the pain. Gu Mengmeng's heart ached. She wanted to go to Lee's side to comfort him but was held back tightly by Cole. He always thought that I treated him well in order to make him careless. But that wasn't the case. In the beginning, I only wanted to protect myself. I spared no effort to please him because I hoped that he would see me as more important, so that my parents wouldn't dare to do anything to me. I just want to live, even if I have to be a dog that wags its tail and begs for pity in front of him. Cole gritted his teeth and said word by word, "Ha, I succeeded. Because of his reliance on me, I was able to escape death time and time again. In the end, even my eldest brother died." Gu Mengmeng's body stiffened. She turned her head with difficulty and looked at Cole in disbelief. Cole chuckled. "The eldest son of the Snow Fox clan will be in charge of political power." However, in order to help him ascend from level 2 to level 3, the Void Mother did not hesitate to order her males to surround and kill Big Bro. Then she delivered Big Bro's flesh to him and coaxed him into eating it. Then I would be the last of the 9 brothers, except for him. Tell me, in order for him to reach the peak of 3rd level and welcome the arrival of the messenger of the beast deity in the most perfect state, will the mother beast still be afraid of Lee's concern for me? Chapter 1542. Let go of me. Gu Mingming turned to look at Cole coldly and said, I don't care how pitiful you are, that's your problem. As long as you hurt Leah, you are my enemy. Cole indeed let go, and Gu Mingming immediately ran to Lee's side and hugged him tightly in her arms. She patted his back and comforted him. It's not your fault. It's your parents who are perverted and used this method to force you. You didn't do anything wrong, you didn't. Moreover, it's all over, it's all in the past, so it's all right. I'm here. No one can bully you like this in the future, really. Leah vomited until he almost collapsed. He held Gu Mingming's face with both his hands and asked with a meek gaze, Gu Mingming, what should I do? My bloodline is really unique. It can always slap me after I finally accept my filth and tell me that it's much dirtier than I thought. Gu Mingming, will you despise me? Elvis walked to Lee's side and scooped Gu Mingming up into his arms. He then kicked Leah and said, Don't embarrass yourself outside, hurry and get up. Leah looked at Elvis in a daze, and after a long while, he suddenly laughed. From a certain perspective, he and Elvis were really birds of a feather flocking together. They had both eaten their own blood brothers. What kind of strange and miraculous fate was this? He understood Elvis's gaze. Elvis was telling him that Gu Mingming would not despise him because of what happened in the past. Wasn't Elvis himself the best example? Patting off the dirt on his body, Leah wiped away the tears at the corners of his eyes and sorted out his emotions. When he looked up again, he was that charming Daddy Leah again. Swaying his large tail, Leah said in annoyance, I was still thinking of using this opportunity to make Gu Mingming soften her heart and favor me more. You actually saw through me, annoying. Leah was always good at pretending that everything was fine. The more upset he was, the more he would use this tone to mislead Gu Mingming into thinking that everything just now was a trick to fight for his favor. Initially, Gu Mingming believed him. But slowly, Gu Mingming started to realize something was wrong. But she would not expose Leah. She only wanted to know that Leah had already broken free from Cole's words. That would be enough. Cole stood nearby and laughed softly. He seemed to be laughing at Leah, but also at himself. After laughing for a long time, he took a deep breath and tilted his head to look at Gu Mingming. Gu, look, we are the same kind of people. Gu Mingming smiled. Gu Mingming smiled coldly and said, I am different from you. Cole spread his hands and asked, No, Gu, we are the same. I cut myself open to let you see my misery and fragility, but you still disdained me and comforted him instead. This shows that your gentleness and compassion are only given to the people you care about. As for those you don't care about, you won't even spare a glance, regardless of whether they're dead or alive. Isn't this similar to me? Even if there were corpses floating in front of me and blood flowing like a river, I wouldn't even frown. But as long as you're unhappy, I'll go to war. So Gu, you don't have to reject me. We are the same kind. Only I have the right to accompany you. Only I can truly understand you. Cole appeared in front of Gu Mingming in a flash. He caressed Gu Mingming's little face with his large hands and said gently, You're right. We are not in the wrong. The ones in the wrong are the weak who were trampled on. Be it me who was treated like a dog in the past, or Leah who was tortured by me. But it's different now. We are all strong enough and have completely changed our roles from the prey to the hunter. The rules are set by me, and I am yours. Digression. Knocking on the blackboard, she drew out the previous hints. Cole used to be the king behind the stray beasts. The idea of Peter torturing Elvis and his brothers was Cole's idea. The perverted idea of brothers killing each other and eating each other was Cole's instruction. The source of inspiration was his own personal experience. Chapter 1543. Cole's other hand slowly grasped Gu Mingming's wrist. With a seductive smile he said, Standing on the shoulders of the Beast King, you are at the top of the food chain. Overlooking everything, you are the strongest and no one dares to go against you. Gu Mingming's eyes were wide open. But before Cole could hold on to Gu Mingming's wrist firmly, it was grabbed by another hand. A cold voice rang in front of him, filled with disdain and sarcasm. It said a simple sentence. Do you think I'm dead? Crack. It was the sound of bones being crushed. The history department was shockingly similar. This hand had been crushed by Elvis for the second time. But this time, Cole's powers were much stronger than before. Hence, he turned his other hand into a claw and attacked Elvis. Elvis took a step back and loosened his grip. Cole flexed his dangling wrist and smiled. "Agu, are you satisfied now?" Gu Mingming frowned, not understanding what he meant. "Didn't you say that I only like you so much that I can't even bear to part with the wrist? This time, this hand is crushed again. Although it won't break, it really hurts." Cole smiled as he showed off his broken hand. "You want the spirit of the rocky cliffs, don't you? If you want me to be devastated, you have to give me something sweet to make me more infatuated with you. I have already created a chance for you. Do you want to come over and comfort me? MMM?" Gu Mingming looked at Cole coldly. Then she slowly spat out 2 words. "No." With that, Gu Mingming let Elvis carry her away. Looking at Gu Mingming's resolute back view, Cole smiled indulgently and helplessly. He sighed. "TSK, you are indeed the woman that I, Cole, fancy. So ruthless and heartless." With that, Cole did not care about his pride. He leisurely followed Gu Mingming to the borders of Sandy's territory. He watched as she bid farewell to Sandy. Huda and his brothers in Oriton, who was severely injured by Cole, were entrusted to Sandy's family. Due to their relationship with Elvis, the 7 wolves naturally would not shirk away and promised to take good care of the males in the Wolf King's family. On the other hand, Arnold's identity was rather awkward. After all, it was his king who made the other party look half dead. Thus, he didn't say anything and just quietly stood at the side with his head lowered. No one knew what he was thinking. When Gu Mingming walked out of Sandy's house, she saw Cole still standing there, smiling without saying a word. He was calmly using his actions to show that no matter where Gu Mingming went to spend the winter, he would shamelessly follow her. Gu Mingming considered for a while, and decided that returning to Saint Nazaire was not a wise choice. The reason was simple: Cole was a scourge and she had to deal with this scourge for a while. There were 16 valued females in Saint Nazaire, and Guam Mingming did not want any of them to follow in Maya's footsteps. So Gu Mingming's final decision was to go to the Snake King Valley. The Snake King Valley was Snake's base camp. The reputation that Snake had built up over thousands of years would not crumble overnight. Even though Ellie had conspired with Cole previously, it was with Snake's permission. Whales had been guarding the Snake King Valley with Wabiai's identity for the past 800 years. Now that he had awakened and was a demigod above the Beast King, the snake beasts naturally had the support of the masses. If she wanted to find an absolutely clean place in the beast world where Cole could not even stab a needle, the Snake King Valley was definitely the best choice. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. I will continue tomorrow. These 2 days, I have been thinking of all kinds of perverted ways to kill Cole to appease everyone's anger. Chapter 1544. Whales had no objections to this. After all, the rule that outsiders were not allowed to enter the Snake King Valley was set by outsiders. When Snake was alive, he had never said that outsiders were not allowed to enter. It was just that those who entered might be treated as food. Returning to the Snake King Valley gave her a feeling that things were the same, but people had changed. After Snake's death, Gu Mingming returned once, but only once. Elvis and Leah were waiting for her outside the valley that time, and did not enter together. And this time, because of the troublemaker Cole, Elvis and Leah would definitely not let Gu Mingming and Cole be alone. Gu Mingming directly returned to the cave that Snake used to live in. Wabiai had his own cave, and after awakening, Whale's temperament had taken over most of his personality. He preferred peace and quiet, so he did not stick around with Gu Mingming and the rest. He only told Gu Mingming to get the little snake to pass the message to him if she needed help. So Cole shamelessly stuck to Gu Mingming's cave. Both parties reached a strange tacit understanding. Cole clearly knew that Gu Mingming wanted the spirit of the rocky cliffs, but he still took the initiative to ask for a trick, to fall for it and to deceive her. Gu Mingming clearly knew that Cole knew that she wanted the spirit of the rocky cliffs, so she would definitely let him stay. But she still pretended to reject him, and allowed him to stay in Snake's cave. It was a very strange feeling. It was hard to tell who was acting with whom. Snakes hibernated collectively during winter, so there was no need to prepare food. But Gu Mingming did not hibernate during winter. Moreover, She was the saintess of the Snake King Valley, and had Snake's protection mark on the back of her neck. Her status was special and precious, so she naturally had to be taken good care of. Moreover, Gu Mingming had Snake's tear of the beast deity on her, so her body was immune to all poisons. So it was much easier for the snake beasts to prepare food for her. Prey with 2 holes in their main arteries were continuously transported into Snake's cave. And Elvis, who usually went out to hunt every year, did not go out this year because of Cole's presence. Instead, he handed the task of hunting to the wild wolves. Cole said that he wanted to stay and spend the winter together, but there was no reason for a male to let a female take care of him. So he ordered the wild foxes to hunt on a large scale and send food over. So there were 3 portions of food stacked separately in Snake's cave. One was prepared by the snake beast for Gu Mingming. Because it was poisonous, only Gu Mingming could eat it. The other 2 piles were for wolf beasts and fox beasts. Luckily Snake's cave was spacious enough, otherwise with all these things piled up, no one would be able to enter. Leah looked at the 3 small hills of corpses in the cave, and shook his head silently. Speechless, he sighed and began to clean them up one by one. He peeled off the beast hides and tanned them into fur, then marinated the meat and stored them separately. Gu Mingming, on the other hand, flapped her wings and flew up to a tree branch. She sat on a high spot and swung her legs, humming Guijing's singing in the tree. Elvis automatically went to help Leah handle the prey. Cole hesitated for a moment before joining in. These 3 males, who were like fire and water and had always fought each other to the death, were actually preparing food for the winter in harmony. This scene was really strange. But it was also thanks to them that they did not cause any trouble. When the first snow fell, Snake's cave was already stocked with enough food. Chapter 1545. Gu Mingming rubbed her hands and shrugged her shoulders, grinning. It's a pity there's no more wine, or else I would have gotten you both drunk today. Elvis and Leah looked at each other and smiled. Ever since they got drunk together that year, and Gu Mingming took the opportunity to satisfy her Fujoshi heart, the 2 of them had never drunk together again. Between the 2 of them, one of them had to remain sober, so that Gu Mingming's imagination would not run wild again. Gu Mingming eagerly filled 3 cups with water, and passed one to Elvis and Leah. Then, she took one for herself and clinked it with the 2 of them. She smiled sweetly. Hubby, husband, happy wedding anniversary. There's no wine, so let's use water to replace wine. Cheers, shall we? Happy wedding anniversary. Happy wedding anniversary. Elvis and Leah said in unison, smiling gently and blissfully. There was no calendar in the beast world, so they treated the first day of winter as their wedding anniversary. The 3 of them were blissfully happy and warm, while Cole, who was sitting at the side, was isolated outside. Snake's cave did not have any cover. After all, before Gu Mingming came, Snake was the only one living here. Even though they were in the same space, he could not blend in with them. Cole clutched his heart with his hand and smiled bitterly. He knew that sticking close to her was asking for trouble, but he was already feeling so uncomfortable at the beginning. He really did not know how he was going to survive this long winter. Gu Mingming did not have time to care about Cole. She just ate with Elvis and Leah while recalling the interesting things that happened in the past few years. Sometimes, she would grumble coquettishly, and sometimes, she would laugh out loud. Cole could not take his eyes off her. He just waited with his eyes fixed on her, thinking that she might mention him in one of her sentences. Even if it was hatred? Unfortunately, there was not a single word. After a day of fooling around, Gu Mingming was so sleepy that she fell into a deep sleep in Elvis's arms. Carry her into sleep. Mingming doesn't like others to see her sleeping, Leah said to Elvis while clearing the cutlery. Elvis nodded and carried Gu Mingming into a cave that they had dug out temporarily before winter. It could be considered as a separate room for the 3 of them to rest in this winter. Cole was allowed to stay in the cave, but he was not allowed to go near this room. He was clear of his own identity and his own motive, so he would not touch Gu Mingming's bottom line. And so, he just stayed in the corner and stared longingly at the entrance of the cave, as if he could see the person sleeping soundly through the wall. After Leah finished packing, he did not enter the cave. Instead, he sat beside Cole. Without looking at Cole, he just sat side by side with him and said nonchalantly, "What you said to Meng Meng that day, was it a lie, wasn't it?" Cole did not look at Leah and only chuckled softly. Agu understands psychology. The chances of success in lying to her are very slim. Leah shook his head. Chapter 1546. Cole nodded with a chilly smile. "So you intend to complain to Agu about this? Expose me for hiding my ambition and disguising myself as a pitiful person to gain sympathy?" Leah shook his head. "If I wanted to expose you, I would have done it long ago. Why wait till now?" "Oh, then what is your motive for telling me all this?" Cole asked softly. Leah said, "I'm just reminding you, it's useless to act pitiful. 5 years ago, I made myself even more pathetic than you, but I still couldn't move her to forgive me in one winter. At the very least, she still liked me back then. But you? I'd like to hear more." Cole was a bad guy, but he was a smart one. Leah pointed out the loophole in his first step to express his sincerity. Gu Mingming wanted the spirit of the rocky cliffs and Leah would definitely help her. So this winter, he would let go of the past and make Cole fall madly in love with Gu Mingming. The first step was to not destroy Cole's facade in front of Gu Mingming. Only when Gu Mingming felt that Cole was pitiful would her heart soften a little towards him. And this little soften was enough to make Cole go crazy. Conspiring with the enemy to drive himself crazy. Cole felt that there was probably no other person in this world who would do this. Leah smiled lightly. Then he patted Cole's shoulder. "There will be a good opportunity within 3 days. As for how to grasp it, it's up to you." With that, Leah stood up and returned to his room. A good opportunity within 3 days. Cole's confusion only lasted until the next morning when Gu Mingming woke up. Moaning, she stretched her body and flipped over to see Leah smiling at her from the bedside with his chin propped on his hand. "Good morning, hubby." Gu Mingming rubbed her eyes and greeted him softly. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's soft little face that had just woken up and smiled gently. "Are you awake?" Gu Mingming nodded and leaned into Lee's arms coquettishly. She found a comfortable spot on his chest and said lazily with the coquettishness of the morning, "I'm awake, but I still want to stay a little longer." Leah hugged Gu Mingming back and kissed her forehead, saying, "You might still have to stay for a long while." Gu Mingming did not understand. She looked up and pressed her lips against Lee's lowered head. She thought it was just an accidental kiss, but Leah deepened it. After a while, the entire room was filled with the fox's seductive fragrance. Leah, so early in the morning. Males have a specific physiological reaction in the morning. You understand, right? As Leah spoke, he flipped over and pinned Gu Mingming under him. He kissed her from her forehead all the way down to her neck. "Didn't you want a nest of little foxes? Now as you wish." "I know that's not good." Gu Mingming's emotions were in a mess from Lee's kiss, and she did not know what to do. Before the drowsiness had completely dissipated, her mind was occupied by ambiguity. Her whole body was in a state of chaos, but her body gave a more direct response than her mind. Winter is the most leisurely time of the year. Now that you're pregnant, Elvis and I can take care of you wholeheartedly. There's no better time than now. Lee's large hand moved down Gu Mingming's arm and interlocked his fingers with hers, pressing her hands to the sides of her body. Then he leaned close to her left ear and whispered softly, "Moreover, you're so beautiful. I can't hold it in anymore." Aside from the topic. "Hurry, there's no more time. Hurry up and board the train. Look at the car plate. 4927792773. After boarding the train, look for the administrator to check the tickets. Babies with more than 800 fans can enter the VIP cabin to enjoy the special treatment of overflowing meat fragrance. Note: this train is not heading to the kindergarten. Please do not sneak onto the train if you want to go to the kindergarten. This train is not heading to the kindergarten. Please do not sneak onto the train if you want to go to the kindergarten." Chapter 1547. The males in the beast world had sharp hearing. This was originally an advantage, but now, it had become a torture. Whatever Leah and Gu Mingming did and said in the cave, the two males at the door could hear it clearly. The fox's seductive fragrance that permeated the air also stimulated the two males who had an especially sensitive sense of smell. Cole's eyes reddened, and he wanted to rush into the cave. How could Elvis let him enter? So the two beast kings started fighting in the empty space of Snake's cave. The sounds in the cave got louder and louder, and the fight outside the cave became fiercer and fiercer. When the last chant was heard from inside, Elvis's sharp claws dug into Cole's chest. Both of them were stunned, but Elvis did not take the chance to kill Cole. After all, Gu Mengmeng did not ask Cole to come along to kill him. Or rather, not to kill him at this moment. As expected, Gu Mengmeng fell into a deep sleep after the fight. When she opened her eyes again, the cave was filled with the aroma of meat. She could hear Elvis's steady and clear breathing and heartbeat, as well as the sound of Lee's chopsticks rubbing against the sides of the pot as he stirred the food. These small details pieced together to form a blissful scene. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and hugged Elvis, calling out sweetly, "Hubby." Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's little face, then said in a low voice, "You slept for the whole day?" "Yeah." Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "I'm hungry." Leah was right. You will definitely wake up when you smell the aroma of food. As he spoke, Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng up and used the warm water he had prepared to help her wash up. As he washed her face, he remained silent for a moment before saying out of the blue, "I'm sorry." Gu Mengmeng's eyes were wide open. Ah. Gu Mengmeng held onto Elvis's big hands like a kitten, her little face peeking out from the beast's skin and looking at Elvis curiously. Elvis's gaze was a little disappointed and he said, "In the future, I will work harder to serve you." Gu Mengmeng blinked her eyes and thought for a moment before her face turned red. The service Elvis was referring to was definitely not something like washing her face and brushing her teeth, but cough, cough, cough. Gu Mengmeng choked on her own saliva. How should she put it? She was a little timid. After all, she had just been tormented by Leah yesterday. If Elvis were to do it again, she felt that she might die on the bed because she was a beautiful woman. Elvis patted Gu Mengmeng's back lightly and said, "This time, you slept for a whole day, but the previous time, you only slept for one night. From this, it can be seen that you were not satisfied the previous time. It's my fault, I won't do it again." Gu Mengmeng facepalmed. So Elvis judged her satisfaction level based on how long she slept after that. Chapter 1548. Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng's timid look and felt warm and itchy in his heart. Undeniably, her almost begging attitude had pleased him. After all, males had the strongest desire to conquer in that matter, and would not be willing to be outdone by anyone. And it was a delightful thing to receive the approval of one's own female. Ah, so the one who should be working harder is me? Leah leaned against the entrance of the cave, and looked at Gu Mengmeng meaningfully with a faint smile. Gu Mengmeng choked and shook her head violently. She instinctively held onto her waist and said, "There's really no need. Both of you better slack off a little, or else I'm really afraid that one day I will be torn apart on the bed by both of you and won't be able to wake up." Leah and Elvis looked at each other and smiled. They did not say anything else and just called Gu Mengmeng out to eat. After Elvis helped Gu Mengmeng wash up, he used a piece of beast skin to wrap her up before carrying her out of the cave. Gu Mengmeng felt very awkward the moment she came out. She was so confused by Lee's teasing yesterday that she had forgotten that there was an outsider staying in her house. So Cole had been listening to live AVI for an entire day at the cave entrance yesterday? As a performer, Gu Mengmeng really wanted to bang her head against Lee's chest and die. Gu. Cole's voice sounded a little weak and tired. The corners of his lips were heavy, but he forced a smile and said, "You don't dare to look at me. Is it because your heart aches?" Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly and said, "No, it's because it's awkward." "Why is it awkward?" "Because I heard you mating with Leah?" Cole's every word was light as a feather, as if that was the only way he would not shatter his overburdened heart. He smiled bitterly and said, "Ha, actually you don't have to be like this. Anyway, it's not the first time I heard it." "What?" Gu Mengmeng looked up at Cole. He was clearly someone she hated to the extreme, but when she met his eyes, Gu Mengmeng's heart skipped a beat. She did not know if it was because she had heard his story and knew that he had no choice but to do what he did to Leah back then, so the basis of her hatred had loosened. She did not even find Cole as hateful as before. Cole could clearly see the gentleness in Gu Mingming's gaze when she lifted her head. Hence, he tried his best to smile, as if he wanted to hide all his dark side behind this smile, and present the little bit of beauty and sunshine he had left to her. Even though his throat was boiling with blood, Cole still tried his best to maintain his elegance. He said calmly, "Previously in Sauter, when you and Elvis were mating, I was near the stone castle, and heard everything. That was the first time, so I lost control and seriously injured your little tiger." Little tiger. If Gu Mengmeng did not know how Oriton, that glutton, usually had a poker face and was cold to everyone except when he was eating, she might have been fooled by the 3 words little tiger, and thought that he was some cute little pet that Gu Mengmeng was raising. Holding her forehead, Gu Mengmeng suddenly realized that her focus was not quite right. Twitching her lips, Gu Mengmeng laughed coldly and said, "Are you addicted to eavesdropping?" Chapter 1549. Gu Mengmeng felt even more awkward. She cleared her throat and said, "Then why don't you take advantage of the fact that winter has just arrived and go live in another cave? Or can't your snow fox tribe travel during winter? You can go back to Sauter or anywhere else." Cole snorted. His eyes were filled with sorrow. He did not answer but asked instead, "Agu, looks like you really hate me. You don't even share your soft-heartedness and kindness with me. Hearing the female I love the most mating with another male has already broken my heart and made me go crazy. I thought this was the most painful situation I had ever been in, but I didn't expect you to chase me away when I am in such pain. Agu, it's a world of ice and snow outside. Even if I can find a cave to rest in, how am I going to get food? I can't survive the winter. Even if you don't care about my life, you have to think about Qixuan. If I die, what will happen to him? Moreover, don't you want the spirit of the rocky cliffs?" Gu Mingming did not think too much. She just felt that letting Cole stay in her cave to survive the winter was a very thoughtless thing to do. She could not possibly not mate with Elvis and Leah this winter, especially since she still wanted to bear Lee's child. How could she not do that? But every time they did it, it was like a live broadcast with an outsider eavesdropping. It was so awkward. So Gu Mingming asked Cole to leave, but she did not have the intention to kill him. In the end, this difficult situation became like this. Gu Mingming sighed and said, "I have always been such a vicious woman. If I were you, I would run away as soon as possible and hide far away. Never appear in front of a vicious woman like me. I will not chase after you to the ends of the world for Qixuan's life. As for the spirit of the rocky cliffs, it doesn't matter if it doesn't appear. Anyway, that broken door cannot be opened and everyone can relax." Cole looked at Gu Mingming's angry words in silence. He chuckled and said, "I can understand it as you are concerned and can't bear for me to die. In order to save my life, you are willing to let down Whale's request and make him wait for 1,000 years in vain? You don't care if that bird man on the Mota Mountains becomes a living dead forever?" Thinking of little Shit and Gregory, Gu Mingming felt her chest tighten. She glared at Cole unhappily and said, "You are a scourge. It's all your fault for causing this situation today." Cole chuckled with a blissful expression. "Yes, Agu is right. It's all my fault. I planned all of this just to get a chance for you to allow me to fall in love with you. Only with permission would you pity my misery. I know you won't love me, but I want you to remember me, always remember me." Gu Mingming did not say a word. She just turned around and entered the house in frustration. Leah brought the pot back to the room and coaxed Gu Mingming to eat. Gu Mingming was frustrated by Cole and did not feel like eating, but Leah gently caressed her tummy and said, "Maybe there's already a little fox here. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should think for the child." Gu Mingming lowered her head and hesitated for a moment before saying, "It can't be that fast, right? You hit it on the first try?" Chapter 1550. When Leah said that, Gu Mingming also felt that it was the case. Instinctively, she placed her hand on her abdomen, feeling a little hesitant and curious. If she was pregnant, she should have felt it, right? Should Gu Mingming thought about it? When she was pregnant with Hutta and his brothers, She did not have any reaction at first. It was only after Leah sensed that there was something wrong with the smell on her body that he started to have a reaction. What about this time? Would it be the same? Gu Mingming felt that Li's words made sense. If there was really a baby in her stomach, she must take good care of herself. Because of this possibility, Gu Mingming's mood instantly improved. Her emotions that were disturbed by Cole just now had also flown out of the 9 heavens. She just rubbed her tummy from time to time, then accepted the food that Leah fed her by mouthful like an old lady, delightedly thinking about how many little foxes would be born in this litter. Sons or daughters? What should she call them? After the meal, Elvis carried Gu Mingming to accompany her to digest the food, while Leah went to wash the dishes. Gu Mingming then realized that Elvis had injuries on his body. Frowning, she asked, "What happened?" Elvis looked down at his almost healed body, leaving only a faint pink mark. He said, "It's all right, I'm almost healed. And his injuries are more serious than mine." Him. Gu Mingming only took 2 seconds to understand who him was. Elvis was not injured before entering the cave, and he did not fight with anyone when she was awake. So it could only be the day she and Leah mated. She was in a daze then, but now that she recalled it, she did hear the sounds of fighting. Gu Mingming rolled up her sleeves and jumped up from the bed, stomping out in a huff. Cole's gaze was fixed on the entrance of Gu Mingming's cave, so he naturally saw her walk out and heard their conversation inside. He knew that Gu Mingming was here to settle the score with him, so he did not avoid or hide. He just sat there quietly and looked at Gu Mingming, as if he was anticipating her to take revenge on him. Gu Mingming walked up to Cole angrily and strangled his neck. She sneered, "Staying in my cave and even hitting my man, are you tired of living?" With that, Gu Mingming threw a punch at Cole. Cole flew out and landed heavily on the wall of the cave, before landing on the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood, Cole clutched his chest as he sprawled on the ground. He turned to look at Gu Mingming and smiled. The fresh red blood formed a stark contrast with his pale face. He was clearly in a miserable state, but he still had to put on a smiling face. He did not say anything and just looked at Gu Mingming. The rage in Gu Mingming's heart was extinguished by Cole's mouthful of blood. She clenched her fists tightly and stood at the same spot, not chasing after him to hit him again. He only asked fiercely, "Why didn't you fight back? Aren't you good at fighting? Don't tell me you don't hit women. I saw that you didn't hold back when you hit Maya and Miranda." Cole shook his head. "It's not that I don't hit women. I just don't hit you." Chapter 1551. "I know you are not weak, but I just can't bear to lay a hand on you." Cole gave a helpless and bitter smile. He shook his head in self-mockery and said, "Think about it yourself. In those moments when you hated me, did I ever hurt you at all?" Indeed, no matter how many things Cole had done to make Gu Mingming gnash her teeth in hatred, he had never laid a finger on her. Gu Mingming clenched her fists and growled coldly, "You hurt the people I care about, so why don't you just hit me?" Cole coughed again. Every time he coughed, fresh blood would spurt out. After finally stopping the bleeding, Cole used the back of his hand to wipe his mouth. Then he looked up at Gu Mingming with a smile. "We are really similar, protecting the people we care about and ignoring the people we don't care about. The only difference is that you care about Elvis, Leah, Qixian and Sandy. You care about everyone except me. And I, from start to finish, only care about you. But Agu, in my eyes and in your eyes, what is the difference between the people you care about?" Gu Mingming clenched her fists. She had nothing to say. Cole had first been beaten up by whales because of Oraton. Even if he had the power of a beast king, it was not something that could be healed in a short period of time after every bone in his body was crushed by a demigod. But he had ignored his recovery and traveled such a long distance to the Snake King Valley, just to fall in love with her and give her the spirit of the rocky cliffs. Although they were both beast kings, foxes were naturally weaker than wolves. In addition, Cole had not recovered from his serious injuries, so Elvis definitely had the upper hand in their battle yesterday. Even if Gu Mingming had the slightest bit of rationality, she could easily see that the huge hole in his chest had not completely healed. Compared to the faint pink marks on Elvis's body, Cole's injuries were obviously more serious. But she only cared about Elvis, so she attacked Cole without a care, hitting him until he vomited blood and fell to the ground. Cole was right. In this aspect, she was really the same as him. She only cared about the people she cared about, and never cared about the lives of others. Gu Mingming pursed her lips, her eyes bloodshot. She did not know if it was because Cole had exposed the truth, or because of the blood he had vomited. After enduring for a long time, she only said fiercely, "But at least I did not kill you." "You will kill him, won't you?" Cole replied calmly, smiling so gently, as though he was saying, "Winter will pass, the flowers you love will bloom, the fruits you love will bear." Gu Mingming's brows were tightly furrowed and her fists were clenched by her sides. She clenched her teeth and held on for a long while before slowly loosening her fists. She said, "Yes, I will kill you eventually. Once I undo Qishuan's bewitching spell, I will definitely kill you." "But Cole, you are different from Oakley, you are not innocent." Cole chuckled. "If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. Sorry, there are too many things that made you hate me, so I didn't think about it. But Agu, you care about so many people. Why did I only kill the insignificant Oakley? If he wants to torture you, he, Qixuan or Sandy are all good choices, isn't it?" Chapter 1552. If he had obediently helped you guard Sauter, I would not have killed him no matter how he went against me. Look at Qixuan, he is the best example. No matter how impudent that little wolf cub was in front of me, I still spared his life, didn't I? Only you foolishly thought that I kept him alive to threaten you. Agu, don't you know? You are full of weaknesses. It is too easy for me to threaten you. I don't have to restrict myself to Qixuan. Even if he dies, there is still Hutta, Jiaoyu and Kanwu. You will not give up on any of them, right? Cole shakily propped himself up and leaned against the wall to sit. He looked up at Gu Mingming with a smile on his face. He took a deep breath and pursed his lips, forcing himself to swallow back the blood that was surging up his throat. He frowned slightly and his forehead was covered in sweat, but the corners of his lips were still curled upwards. He had to smile. He had to smile. He was already so unbearable in her eyes. The only thing he had left was this smile. You treat Oakley as a friend, but what about him? He didn't hesitate to push you into the eye of the storm for his own purpose. I can't let someone who would stab you in the back stay by your side. So even if you hate me because of this, I can't let him stay. Cole propped himself against the wall and slowly stood up from the ground. The dignified Beast King, Lord Cole, was now in a pathetic and weak state. He could only stand up from the ground. If not for the support of the wall, he wouldn't be able to do it. He coughed twice and blood flowed uncontrollably from the corner of his tightly shut mouth. He tilted his head slightly and secretly wiped away the blood. Then he turned to look at Gu Mingming and continued. Agu, I told you before, you and I are the same kind of person. I will never allow anyone who threatens the people we care about to exist. That year when you killed Nina, wasn't it because of this? Nina. This was a name that had not appeared for a long time. Back then, no matter how she provoked and how she jumped out, Gu Mingming tolerated it all. Until later, when she injured Sandy. Although Gu Mingming did not personally kill her, she had instructed Leah to do it. Nina and the 46 males in her family had all died because of a single sentence from her. She would not allow Nina, who would plot against Sandy, to exist. Cole would also not allow Oakley, who would betray her, to exist. Gu Mingming staggered a step back and her gaze dimmed. So she and Cole were the same kind of people? Cole stood firmly and looked at Gu Mingming with a determined gaze. Agu, I don't deny that I killed Oakley. If you want to avenge him, my life is right here for you to take. But let me tell you, if I could do it all over again, I would still kill him without hesitation, without mercy, and without regret. Gu Mingming clenched her fists and flung them away, leaving behind only one sentence, there's no next time. Cole did not promise that he would not lay his hands on the people Gu Mingming cared about in the future, because he had to stick to his bottom line of not lying to her. If the people around her betrayed her again in the future, no matter if it was Elvis, Leah or Sandy or the 4 little ones, if anyone dared to hurt her, he would use any means necessary to get rid of them. With one hand on the wall and the other on his chest, Cole looked at Gu Mingming's resolute back view. Gu, we did not do anything wrong. We were just protecting the people we care about. If you don't look out for yourself, heaven and earth will destroy you. In this cruel world, if you're not the hunter, you're the prey. It's just survival of the fittest. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. Besides, where are the people who wanted me to torture Cole to death? Why are there so many people asking me to show mercy now? Chapter 1553. About 3 weeks passed in the blink of an eye. Gu Mingming was unwilling to face Cole, so she hid in the cave and rarely went out. Leah was the one who prepared the food and brought it in, so she was unwilling to step out of the door. 3 weeks later, Leah confirmed that Gu Mingming was pregnant. Usually, foxes would be pregnant for about 50 days, and 3 weeks meant half of the gestation period was over. But Gu Mingming's tummy was ridiculously flat. Leah frowned and stared at Gu Mingming for a long time, before looking up blankly and saying slowly, "Maybe it's a daughter." Gu Mingming was also stunned for a moment. The chances of getting pregnant with a female in the beast world was very low. So Gu Mingming and Leah had always thought that this child would be a son, and had thought of 4 to 5 names. Suddenly realizing that it was a daughter, the whole family was dumbfounded. Really? Gu Mingming held Lee's hand carefully to confirm. Leah transformed into his beast form again, and laid between Gu Mingming's legs to sniff carefully, before transforming into a human and nodding. "I'm sure that I'm pregnant. Counting the days, if it's a son, the tummy would have been big long ago." "Ah!" Gu Mingming screamed in joy, hugging Leah excitedly. "Leah, we have a daughter! We have a daughter!" Leah was also dizzy from joy. His entire body was numb, and the phrase, "we have a daughter," kept repeating endlessly in his mind. After a long time, he finally laughed out, hugging Gu Mingming tightly in his arms, crying tears of joy. "I finally have a family related by blood, finally. Gu Mingming, thank you, thank you." Gu Mingming hugged Lee's face and kissed him, saying, "Silly, other than this child, you still have me and Elvis. We are all your family." "Yeah." Leah nodded heavily, hugging Gu Mingming back tightly in his arms. Gu Mingming's pregnancy had washed away all other matters, including the conflict with Cole previously. Now that she was pregnant, Gu Mingming could not stay in the cave all day. She needed to move around as much as possible. It was impossible to leave the cave, but luckily, because Snake's original body was too big, this cave had an area of at least 300 square meters. It was barely enough for digesting food and taking a stroll. Gu Mingming felt a little uneasy after not leaving the room for 3 weeks. For some unknown reason, Gu Mingming felt that she could not face Cole. In the past, she hated him because he had schemed against Leah. But later on, she realized he was just protecting himself. Later on, she hated him because he kidnapped Qixuan and killed Oakley. But later on, she found out that he kidnapped Qixuan so that he would have a reason to see her more often. Even though he killed Oakley, it was also to protect her. Didn't she kill Nina to protect Sandy? She had done the same thing, so what right did she have to criticize Cole? The last time Cole fought with Elvis, it seemed like Cole's injuries were also more serious. In the end, he went out and punched Elvis until he vomited blood. Now that she thought about it, why did it seem like she was in the wrong? She hesitated and could not take a step forward. She stared at that one step but could not take it. A shadow fell from the top of her head. Gu Mingming instinctively looked up and met Cole's eyes. Chapter 1554. There's no need, Leah will help me. Gu Mingming lowered her head, avoiding Cole's gaze. Cole chuckled and resisted the urge to lift her chin to look at him. "You are pregnant and a female. It's better to have a witch doctor by your side. It's so cold outside. Won't your heart ache if he goes? Let me go. If you don't see me, will you feel better?" Gu Mingming pursed her lips and kept quiet. Would she feel better if she didn't see Cole? Probably. After all, she felt extremely pressured just by seeing him for no reason. Moreover, if she really asked Leah to pluck some fruits for her in the snow, her heart would definitely ache. She would rather not eat it than let Leah take such a risk. Cole raised his hand, wanting to touch Gu Mingming's head. Seeing her instinctively step back and shrink her neck to avoid him, his hand froze in midair. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly lowered it. "I'm leaving. Take care." With that, Cole took 2 steps back and turned to walk towards the entrance of the cave. A gust of cold wind blew over. Gu Mingming shivered and nestled into Elvis's arms. Leah started a fire and boiled some water for Gu Mingming to maintain the moisture in the cave and prevent her from having a nosebleed again. Without Cole in the cave, Gu Mingming felt much more comfortable and at ease. It was as if she had returned to the days in St. Nazaire. Every day, Elvis and Leah would take care of her as if she was a queen. Even though she was not even a month pregnant, the 2 of them would take turns to lie on her tummy and listen to her every day. Sometimes, her small intestines would move and make a gurgling sound. These 2 fools would insist that it was the baby moving and were as excited as 2 silly dogs. Such days were leisurely. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. Gu Mingming's tummy grew bigger day by day. Now it was as big as her chest. She stood up like a beta. Gu Mingming rubbed her tummy and looked at Leah from time to time. She asked, "It's only been slightly more than a month. My tummy is growing a little too fast?" Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little tummy and smiled. "You've been eating more and moving less recently. It's probably not all because of your daughter. Maybe it's because you're growing fat on your waist." Leah. Gu Mingming gritted her teeth and glared at Leah fiercely. The hairs on Lee's back stood up as he instantly recalled the first year Gu Mingming came. Elvis had said that Gu Mingming seemed to have put on some weight and ended up being chased by Gu Mingming with a bone stick as big as a sweet potato. Leah was not afraid of being smashed, mainly because Gu Mingming's current body was not suitable for chasing and battling. Hence, he immediately admitted defeat and took the initiative to transform into a beast and sent it to Gu Mingming's hand. He even pretended to smile subconsciously and said, "All right, Mingming, don't be angry." In the beast world, saying a female is a little fat is a compliment. Really? Io, I know my mistake. I really know my mistake. My Mingming is not fat at all. Not fat, not fat. His face was as red as an apple in anger as Gu Mingming was holding on to his ear. Leah kept begging for mercy, but did not dare to struggle, fearing that he would hurt Gu Mingming. Just as they were fooling around, a wave of coldness swept over. Gu Mingming instinctively looked towards the entrance of the cave and saw Cole, who had just returned covered in frost. Chapter 1555. Leah had just taken the beast skin bag from Cole's hands when Cole fell stiffly to one side, landing on the ground with a loud thud. He was obviously frozen stiff. Gu Mingming's heart was tugged at by Cole's fall. She did not know if it was because she knew about his past, but Gu Mingming's hostility towards Cole had lessened by a lot. Especially when he went out this time to not be an eyesore to make her feel better, and even braved the wind and snow to pluck fruits for her. No matter how cold-hearted she was, Gu Mingming still felt a little guilty. Gu Mingming wanted to help Cole up, but was stopped by Elvis and Leah. "The cold air on his body is too strong. It will be troublesome to pass it to you." Leah handed the Schweling fruits to Elvis, then walked up to carry Cole, and placed him at a spot slightly further away from the fire. People with frostbite should not immediately go to the fire. It would make their injuries worse. Elvis took out a beast skin cushion and placed it by the fire, letting Gu Mingming sit there comfortably. Leah took care of Cole, while Elvis went to wash the Schweling fruits for Gu Mingming to eat. Gu Mingming held a small bowl, staring at the bowl full of Schweling fruits in a daze, but did not eat a single one. Elvis used his chest to support Gu Mingming's waist, wrapping an arm around her shoulder, and gently squeezing her little hand, asking, "Why aren't you eating? Don't you love eating this fruit the most? I remember when you were pregnant with Hutta and the rest, you could eat 3 big bowls of this at once." Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "There are many Schweling fruits on the Moda Mountains. Gregory would pluck them for me to eat every day. But he said I could only eat 10 at most at once, or else it would be too cold and my stomach would feel uncomfortable." Elvis was taken aback for a moment, then took the bowl from Gu Mingming's hands. He forced a smile and said calmly, "It is not easy to be principled towards your own female. Gregory is a good man. When he comes back, you can take him in, Leah and I have no objections. Leah tilted his head and looked at Elvis, saying, Who says I have no objections? I have objections. If you want to be promoted, you have to defeat me first. Gu Mingming looked at Leah, who was trying to protect his food, and could not help but laugh. Gregory, a 3rd-level beast, wanted to fight Leah, a 5th level? Elvis looked at Leah plainly and said, Xiaoming feels guilty towards him regarding the love of the sky. Moreover, he has sacrificed so much for Xiaoming. We have no right to reject him. Leah snorted nonchalantly and said, It was all thanks to him that Mingming could obtain the love of the sky, but who begged him to do so? Since it was voluntary, there was no need to say that anyone owed him anything. Furthermore, there were many ways to thank him, but he could not use Mingming as a reward. If this precedent is set, in the future, everyone will come to sacrifice their lives for Mingming. Are we going to accept all of them? When Leah said this, he glanced at Cole. His meaning was obvious. With Cole's methods, if Gu Mingming were to set a precedent for Gregory, he would be able to do even more cruel things to force Gu Mingming to accept him. Elvis frowned and remained silent for a moment. They are different. Back then Gregory was tricked by you. Chapter 1556. Elvis let out a sigh. As the first partner, he had to be fair and magnanimous. But as a male, how could he be willing to have another person fighting for her attention at home? Especially that Gregory, he was exceptionally handsome and different from most of the beasts in the beast world. He had the unique aura of a bird, and although he did not dare to say that he could outshine Leah, he was at least on par with him. He was neither servile nor overbearing in front of Gu Mingming, and would not give in uncontrollably just because of her pleas. He had a measuring stick in his heart, and would only do things that were truly good for her. Most importantly, he was only 10 years old and was at the prime of his youth, while Elvis and Leah were no longer as young and energetic as before. Coupled with the friendship of the love of the sky, if he really became Gu Mingming's partner, Elvis gave a bitter smile. Would Xiaoming still value him? Unfortunately, he was not Leah and could not place his emotions before Gu Mingming's interests. As long as Xiaoming liked him, not only could he not reject him, he had to think of ways to help her settle Leah so that she could fulfill her wish. It was just that Wales had yet to be truly revived and there was still some time before Gregory returned. Saying all these in advance was just to let Leah and himself be mentally prepared, and not to argue too early. And Elvis was very clear that although Leah was speaking so decisively now, if Gu Mingming really liked Gregory, Leah would bear with it no matter how unwilling he was, and would not really stop her. After all, compared to her smiling face, there was nothing else in this world that was more important, including themselves. Forget it, let's wait until Gregory successfully returns. Elvis said calmly. Leah harumphed and did not reply. He just fiddled with some medicine and poured it down Cole's throat with hot water. Then he dusted his hands and said, All right, this fellow is just suffering from frostbite. He won't die, don't worry. Gu Mingming nodded and said, Make more food later. When he wakes up, let's eat together. Leah glanced at Cole, and his lips curled up slightly as he smiled and nodded. Ever since Gu Mingming got pregnant, she had become especially drowsy all day long. Now, she felt sleepy again after just a few steps. She leaned into Elvis's arms and yawned, saying that she wanted to sleep for a while. Elvis remembered that Gu Mingming was also like this when she was pregnant with Hutta and the rest. She got tired easily, so he carried Gu Mingming back to the room, and let her lie down comfortably to have a good sleep, while he stayed by her side as a warm blanket to keep her warm. Leah stayed outside, adjusting the fire from time to time, controlling the heat in preparation for cooking. He waited until Gu Mingming's even breathing could be heard from the house. After confirming that Gu Mingming had fallen asleep, he gave Cole a kick. All right, stop pretending. Mingming is asleep. Cole slowly opened his eyes and smiled. He propped himself up and said, I'm not pretending. I just woke up. Leah did not question him, and only smiled faintly. Can you be more creative? You're completely plagiarizing the way I begged for mercy in the past. Aren't you afraid that Mingming will notice? Cole's body was weak. No matter how much of a beast king he was, Not eating or drinking in the snow for half a month was enough to kill him. His voice was hoarse and a little weak. He said, "Since you know there's a shortcut, why take a detour? Follow the tracks so that you won't fall into the swamp, right?" Chapter 1557. Cole did not think that Leah was being sarcastic and just smiled. "Just like what you said. Agu is not an inexperienced little female. It's impossible to lie to her, especially when she has such a deep enmity towards me. How can I not use everything I have in order to sway her?" Leah stopped stirring and turned to look at Cole. He asked in a daze, "Back then, you used all your schemes to survive. Now you're putting in so much effort to plot something that will cost you your life. I really don't understand you. Are you seeking life or death?" Cole raised his head and leaned against the wall. His gaze was distant, as if he was looking at his past self through the fire. He said calmly, "I was unwilling to accept it back then. I couldn't understand the 3 words based on what, and was determined to trample everyone under my feet. All these years I've done it. I'm the leader of Sauter, the supreme light in the beast world. The king behind the stray beasts, the most obscure place in the beast world. I've done my best to be kind in front of others and evil behind others. Maybe you don't believe me, but I've long been sick of this kind of life. Everything is in my control, and no one can escape from my control. If I want someone to live, they will die. If I want someone to live a life worse than death, it's not impossible." Cole looked at Leah and smiled calmly. "You're hailed as the wisest person in the beast world. But all these years, has there ever been a day where you could get rid of me? I'm hated by people like Peter and Oakley. But I don't care about their hatred. I even intentionally allowed them to grow, allowing them to sharpen their claws and teeth and wait for an opportunity to attack me. Unfortunately, they're too stupid and can't even withstand a single blow. I'm also bored out of my mind. There are also people who love me dearly, like Maya and Jillian. They try their best to please me and to please me. But I don't have the slightest interest in them. Other than using them, they have no value in my eyes." Cole's gaze was as still as stagnant water, so calm that it sent chills down one's spine. "And you, my brother who hates and loves me. You hate me for scheming against you. Hate me for torturing you. But you can't let go of the last bit of kinship between us. After all, I am your only remaining brother in this world. So when you and Elvis fought back in Sauter that year, you could not bring yourself to kill me even though you had already subdued me. You let me go because Agu wanted to protect Qixian. I don't believe that you don't know what it means to let a tiger return to the mountain, and there will be no end of trouble in the future. After all, my life wasn't tied to Qixuan's back then. Killing me before looking for Qixian was the most rational decision. But all these could not compare to Agu's gentle gaze that year. Cole's gaze softened and ripples formed in his eyes that were like stagnant water. "The first time I saw her, it was when she was roasting meat with Elvis outside the small stone room in Sauter. There was a flame demon in Sauter, and I couldn't possibly wait until it was too late to find out. Actually, I reached the scene earlier than those females who were participating in the beauty pageant. It was just that I was stunned by Agu's bright smile, and forgot to move. So I didn't stand out." Chapter 1558. At that time, I didn't know what liking was. I only knew that this female was very interesting and I wanted her. As Cole said, he threw another branch into the fire and said, "That night, after I returned to my room, my mind kept replaying the scene of her and Elvis joking around. I even imagined that the one hugging her was not Elvis, but me. So the next morning, I packed up and went to the little stone house to look for her. Yeah, you even stopped me. A mere 3rd-level orc actually dared to be so impudent in front of a 5th-level me. You really overestimated yourself." Leah laughed dryly. "So you brought me away and beat me until I revealed my original form before sending me back." Cole raised his brows. He didn't deny it. Females should flock to the strong. As a 5th level, I had a noble status and should be the one she liked. Unfortunately, she didn't care about me at all. So, towards her, other than curiosity, I also had a desire to conquer. Cole continued. After you left solder, I kept following you. But you were too weak then and couldn't even notice me. Along the way, I saw how gentle she was to you and Elvis. There were countless times when I wanted to appear and snatch her away. Just like how I did with Jillian, I could just lock her up and tame her to be my pet. But once she smiled, I couldn't move. If I could be loved by her, who would want to be hated? At that time, I was angry, resentful and full of hatred. I blamed her for appearing too late. I had mated with another female and lost the right to pursue her openly. But after so many twists and turns, I couldn't bear to taint her with my hatred. So I could only transfer it to you. Cole looked straight at Leah. His gaze was calm and without a hint of guilt. If you hadn't made that request to me back then, I wouldn't have lost the chance to pursue Agu. Why did you let me settle Jillian for you, while you could pursue Agu? Did you think being rejected by Agu back then was very miserable? But did you know that I was even envious of you being rejected? Because I didn't even have the right to be rejected. Leah was not angry. Instead, he smiled calmly and said, "Bloodlines are really magical things. While I was envious of Elvis being reprimanded by Meng Meng, twisted by his ears and smashed with potatoes, you were actually envious of my envy." Cole replied with a smile, acknowledging Lee's words. After a moment of silence, he continued, "After that, I plotted for Agu to come to Sauder to seek help from me, and I meticulously acted as her hero. It wasn't that I couldn't see her change from trusting me at the very beginning to deliberately playing around with me. It wasn't that I couldn't see this change, but I didn't want to expose it. If she wanted, I would rather be blindly deceived by her for the rest of my life." What a pity. Even if she was being hypocritical, she still held me back, making me reluctantly spend most of my attention on her. Giving you and Elvis the chance to take a breather, allowing you to take the chance to rise up and bite me in the back. Chapter 1559. Leah placed the food into the pot in an orderly manner. As he stirred, he said, "After so many things, I never thought that there would be a day where the two of us could calmly reminisce about the past. In this world, nothing is certain." Cole smiled but did not reply. It was not that he did not understand Lee's meaning. Leah was saying that as long as he was alive, there was still hope. His younger brother was advising him not to seek death. But, "I know that if I want to hide, Agu will not kill me because of her relationship with Qi. I should be able to escape. But I forced her to do so many things that she did not want to do. In the end, I have to make her do something that she wants to do to appease her anger." Cole's gaze involuntarily turned towards the room. Separated by the wall, he could not see anything, but just the sound of that little person's even breathing was already the greatest consolation in his gloomy life. "If I can't get Agu, there's nothing else in this world that I want to be reluctant to part with. Rather than living like a withered corpse, why not use this life to fulfill Agu's wish? Since she wants to kill me so badly, then let her. I will help her plan the cruelest scenario and sacrifice myself to her, in exchange for her to pretend to be courteous to me one more time. That is enough." Leah glanced sideways at Cole. "So, what you said about conquering the earth is all nonsense, right?" Cole chuckled and nodded. "If I don't say that, how will that fellow Qixuan agree?" Leah snorted. "You are just taking advantage of Qixuan's young age. You actually used such a flawed excuse to fool him. If I don't take your spirit of the rocky cliffs, I will not be able to open the doors of time and space. If I take your spirit of the rocky cliffs, you will definitely die. How can a damned fox conquer the earth?" Cole did not deny it. He just smiled faintly. "You have already seen through this now. I wonder how long will it take for Agu to understand. At that time, will she feel a little more guilty towards me and remember me for a little longer?" Leah paused and turned to look at Cole. He frowned. "You purposely use such illogical words to mislead Qixuan, just so that one day Meng Meng will come around and feel more guilty towards you?" Cole did not answer but asked instead, "Why not?" "Madman." Leah declined to comment and just turned his head to continue stirring the meat in the pot. "Meng Meng said you must be tired from plucking the Xueling fruits, so she asked me to make more dishes to entertain you." Cole's gaze landed on Lee's pot. The boiling steam in the pot obscured his silhouette. He smiled faintly. He did not need to taste it to know how warm this pot of meat was. Let's eat together when she wakes up. Cole lowered his head and looked at his chest. He muttered, after all, there aren't many chances for me to have a meal with her. The two of them didn't speak anymore. They just sat there quietly, their gazes drifting to the door from time to time. Gu Mengmeng slept for quite a long time. When she woke up, Li's meat had already been heated up several times. When Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng out of the house, Leah smiled and walked forward. He pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face. If you still don't wake up, this pot of meat will turn into minced meat. Chapter 1560. Leah had always been extremely indulgent towards Gu Mengmeng, and now that she was pregnant, he would naturally pamper her even more. How could he let her starve? So he patted her back lightly and said, just wait, it will be done soon. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to sit beside the fire. Gu Mengmeng leaned lazily in Elvis's arms as she waited for her meal. Seeing that Cole was already awake, she smiled faintly and said, you're awake? Yeah. Cole returned a faint smile and responded with a single word, but his eyes dimmed a little. Leah was familiar with Gu Mengmeng's tastes and had always cooked according to her preferences, so Gu Mengmeng was naturally satisfied with her meal. After eating, Elvis and Leah supported her to walk around the cave to aid digestion. After 2 to 3 rounds, Gu Mengmeng said she was tired and wanted to sleep again. It was Leah and Elvis's first time taking care of a female fetus, and they did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. After all, females were delicate and hard to conceive, so it was normal for Gu Mengmeng to feel tired. Moreover, sleeping after eating and eating after waking up was exactly the lifestyle that Elvis and Leah had been dreaming of for Gu Mengmeng. Naturally, they did not object. But Cole's expression darkened even more. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng into the room to let her sleep. Not long after, Gu Mengmeng's even breathing could be heard. Cole placed the bowl in his hands at the side and said, both of you come out for a while. Leah and Elvis were both taken aback. Although their relationship with Cole had improved, it was still an extremely awkward existence. If it was not necessary, they would try not to communicate with each other. Especially between Elvis and Cole, there was no friendship at all. They just hated each other. This was the first time Cole had used such an impolite and almost commanding tone to call someone. It's about Agu, Cole added. Elvis and Leah looked at each other, but still stood up and walked out. Cole used his eyes to signal them to go somewhere further away, and not disturb Gu Mengmeng by standing at the door. Elvis and Leah did not have any objections and followed Cole to the other side of the cave. What's the matter? Elvis asked with a darkened face. Cole turned back to look at the entrance of Gu Mengmeng's room and said softly, how long has she been in this state? Elvis and Leah looked at Cole in confusion. What did this state mean? Cole frowned, looking slightly impatient, but he still suppressed his temper and explained. Agu's stomach, if it's a male cub, isn't it a little too small? But if it's a female, don't you think it's a little too big? It's only been a month, and she's already like this. How big will her belly be when she gives birth? Leah was shocked by Cole's words and he frowned. Pregnancy does cause fatigue, but Agu's body has always been healthy, and she also has the tear of the beast deity and the love of the sky, 2 of the 7 treasures, supporting her. How could she be so drowsy? You witch doctor. Cole stopped halfway through his accusation. He sighed and shook his head. Elvis did not know much about medicine, but he could understand one thing. Gu Mengmeng was not normal and she was in danger. Elvis grabbed Cole's neck and pushed him against the wall, choking him tightly. Speak clearly, what happened to Xiao Meng? Chapter 1561. What do you mean? Elvis asked. Cole took a deep breath and said, you still don't understand? The female in Agu's stomach is absorbing the energy of the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky. If this continues, Agu's stomach will explode in less than 3 months and 2 lives will be lost. Elvis took a step back and his stomach exploded. 1 dead and 2 lives. These simple words exploded in Elvis's mind like a sudden clap of thunder. He turned to look at Leah with much difficulty and said with clenched teeth, This child cannot be left alive. Everything that could endanger Gu Mengmeng must be eradicated, no matter if this child was Li's or his. When Gu Mengmeng gave birth to Kanwu, he would not hesitate to kill Kanwu to protect Gu Mengmeng if Gu Mengmeng did not threaten to kill herself. Now that this child was Li's, he would do the same. In this world, no one or thing was more important than Gu Mengmeng, including themselves. Cole said coldly, Gu will not agree to it. You don't have to worry. Elvis looked at Leah with a black face and said, I will be the bad guy. No matter how angry Xiaoming is after this, I will bear the responsibility alone. You take good care of her. Leah pulled Elvis back and said, Calm down first. You can't bear to? Elvis asked back with a sinister gaze. Leah shook his head and said, In my eyes, no one can be compared to Gu Mengmeng. If she is threatened, I will personally kill this child. But if there is a way to not hurt Gu Mengmeng, why should we let her cry? Elvis was stunned and looked at Leah in confusion. Leah turned to look at Cole and said, What do you mean by opening the doors of time and space in advance? Cole said, When the doors of time and space open, the 7 treasures will reunite. This means that the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky will be removed from her body. This way, the child in her stomach will not be able to absorb the energy of the 7 treasures, and the problem will be solved. Lee's gaze shifted down and said, But the spirit of the rocky cliffs has not appeared yet. Cole chuckled and said, The spirit of the rocky cliffs has not appeared because I am not in enough pain. Perhaps, when Agu's eyes were filled with hatred and she personally pierced through my left chest and touched that heart, the spirit of the rocky cliffs would appear. Leah frowned and contemplated for a long time. He shook his head and said, You have already explained everything to her in the past. Based on her personality, she is filled with guilt towards you and can't bear to do anything to you at all. Cole took 2 steps back and revealed a sly and despicable smile. Making her hate me is my forte. What do you want? Leah was confused. Cole's bloodshot eyes widened as he glared at Leah. I want you to die. All the energy in Lee's body seemed to have been sucked dry in an instant. He fell to the ground with blood flowing out of his 7 orifices. The wrath of the Beast King. Elvis glared furiously at Cole. Cole sneered and said, Why? Lord Wolf King wants to kill me? Ha, then you have to think carefully. If I die now, the spirit of the rocky cliffs will not be able to appear, and the one in Agu's stomach will take her life. Just based on fighting skills, I am indeed weaker than you. But all is fair in war. You have no way to retaliate. With that, Cole turned ruthless and directly reached for Elvis's chest. He crushed his heart without hesitation. Gu Mengmeng, who had just fallen asleep, was awakened by the intense pain from the 2 mating marks. She lay on the bed like a fish on water, gasping for air. Her eyes were wide open and she suppressed her tears as she shouted, Elvis Leah? Respond to me, respond to me. Aside from the topic, hold back your tears, you are not allowed to cry. Susu did not want to torture Elvis and Leah, nor did she want to torture Gu Mengmeng. Susu wanted to torture Cole. As long as the doors of time and space opened, Gu Mengmeng would have a chance to make a wish. By then Elvis and Leah would be revived. So as long as it is not a sad ending, you are not allowed to cry. Also, hold down those little claws that want to mail a kitchen knife. Other than the monthly tickets, Susu refuses to accept anything else. Chapter 1562. Elvis and Leah didn't answer her. There was only the sound of soft, wet footsteps approaching her. Step by step, Gu Mengmeng stood up abruptly, her eyes fixed on the entrance of the cave. Sure enough, a white figure appeared there. He had an evil and arrogant smile on his face, and he was holding a beating heart in one hand. Agu, now you finally belong to me alone. Gu Mengmeng glared at Cole, her eyes instantly filled with blood vessels. It was as if all the blood in her body had frozen, turning indescribably cold. Cole casually threw that heart at Gu Mengmeng's feet, then used his blood-stained hand to cover Gu Mengmeng's lower abdomen. He laughed sinisterly. Now I just need to kill this child, then you will have nothing left. The only person you can rely on is me. I will kill you. Gu Mengmeng suddenly raised her head and strangled Cole's neck. Cole didn't resist. He just looked at Gu Mengmeng with a cold smile. Don't care about Qi Xian anymore? Are you going to kill Qi Xian with your own hands for 2 dead partners? MMM? You. The veins on Gu Mengmeng's forehead bulged. Her gums were bleeding from her clenched teeth. But Cole smiled calmly. I'm not afraid to tell you that it's very easy to dissolve my relationship with Qi Xian. You just need to say you love me. But can you say it? MMM? Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and glared at Cole. I love you. She enunciated each word clearly. At the same time, her right hand pierced through Cole's left chest and pinched his heart. Cole held onto Gu Mengmeng's wrist that was pierced through his chest. He smiled with much difficulty. Again cough. I still want to hear it one more time. To hear you say you love me one more time. Gu Mengmeng's eyes were so red that it looked like she was crying blood. She was like a demonized Rakshasa, without the slightest bit of mercy. She slowly tightened her grip on Cole's chest, forcefully breaking every blood vessel connected to his heart. Cole knew that he would never have the chance to hear her say she loved him a second time. He could clearly feel what her hand was doing in his chest, but he did not feel angry, nor did he feel fear. He just stared straight at Gu Mengmeng, wanting to take one more look at her before he lost consciousness. If Gu Mengmeng had the ability to listen to other people's thoughts, she would have heard Cole saying, Gu, are you here to kill me? You're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Gu, out of the 100 things I made you remember me for, there is finally one that makes you happy, right? You finally cut open my chest and dug out my heart with your own hands. Are you happy? If you're happy, can you not forget me for the sake of this happiness? Even if it's a painful memory every time you think of me, don't forget me. It doesn't matter if you scold me or hate me. It's fine as long as you remember me. Cole raised his hand with difficulty, his blood-stained hand reaching towards Gu Mengmeng's head. He really wanted to rub her furry little head. He had never combed her hair with the beast horn comb that he had personally made for her. Gu Mengmeng pulled her hand out from Cole's chest without hesitation. Just like how he held onto Elvis's heart just now, she was also holding onto his heart. Chapter 1563. But it didn't matter, he didn't have any regrets. Because at that moment, Gu Mengmeng only saw him in her eyes. Gu, didn't you always want me to be in pain and want me to die? You have fulfilled your wish now, so don't blink, don't turn your head, just keep looking at me like this. Before I die, look at me one more time. Just one more time. I beg of you. Unfortunately, Gu Mengmeng was destined not to hear Cole's pleas. Her heart was completely on Elvis and Leah, so she threw Cole's heart on the ground without hesitation, and ran out of the cave to find Elvis and Leah without a shred of reluctance. She didn't see that the moment she turned her head, that bloody heart that rolled on the ground turned into stone inch by inch. His heart was like a rock when he couldn't get what he wanted. His heart didn't die when she pierced through his chest, but when she turned around and left without hesitation, that was the most painful moment for him. He didn't ask for much, as long as she looked at him one more time. And this dying wish was already an extravagant wish. She didn't love him after all, so he wouldn't share any of his soft-heartedness with her. Gu, you keep saying that I'm vicious. But how can my viciousness compare to yours? In the end, Cole took his last breath, his murky eyes staring in the direction that Gu Mengmeng had left. A patch of tender green pierced through his right chest and quickly grew into a branch. If Gu Mengmeng could still remember, the place where the branch grew out was the hole that she personally dug in Oakley's chest when he died. Outside the cave, Gu Mengmeng sat paralyzed on the ground, hugging Elvis, who had a huge hole in his chest and his heart missing. Her other hand was desperately grabbing onto Leah, who was bleeding from all 7 orifices. She cried so hard that she couldn't even make a single sound. That kind of sorrow couldn't be described with words. At the same time, 7 beams of light pierced through the air. Gu Mengmeng's love of the sky, tear of the beast deity, the 2 hearts in the cave, spirit of the rocky cliffs and heart of the desert, the soul of the forest that grew out of Cole's right chest, the key of the beast king on the Mota Mountains, the kiss of the ocean in Zacharias. Gu Mengmeng's body went limp and she lost consciousness, fainting in the light beams. Gu Mengmeng's consciousness sank into chaos and she did not know where she was. It was as if she was a wandering soul looking at the world from a third person's perspective. The scene was not the beast world, but modern times? The scene was set in a very luxurious hall. There were many people in the hall, all dressed in bright clothes. They gathered together and whispered to each other. Gu Mengmeng slowly approached and realized that there was a European-style sofa in the middle of the crowd. An elderly man and a young lady were sitting on the sofa. Wasn't that girl her? Just as Gu Mengmeng was feeling puzzled, she suddenly felt the world spinning around her. It was as if she had done countless somersaults, and when her view changed again, she was already the one sitting on the sofa. There was a hand on his shoulder. The joints of the hand were distinct, slender and strong. He whispered in her ear, "Don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will stand up for you. Just be good and watch the show." Gu Mingming turned around in shock and met with that pair of dark green eyes. She was stunned for 2 seconds before saying, "See, Neek." Snakel chuckled and pinched Gu Mingming's little nose, saying, "Didn't I tell you how to call me?" "Anik." Gu Mingming tried calling out softly. Chapter 1564. Gu Mingming's eyes were red as she bit her lower lip. Her thoughts were in a mess, and she could not think of anything. She just felt a sharp pain in her heart, and her tears fell down one by one. Snake's mother's heart ached at the sight. What kind of joke was this? This was her precious daughter-in-law who could stabilize her son. How could she bear to suffer such a huge grievance? Even if she brought back F country, the entire family would treat her with respect, and could not bear to say a harsh word to her. But here, she was being bullied to tears. "Hubby." The woman used her elbow to nudge her husband lightly. The husband turned around and saw his precious daughter-in-law crying. His anger flared up immediately. "No one is saying anything, right? All right, then don't say anything. Someone call the consulate." Don't. Duke, please calm down first." A man in a suit who looked like he was in charge of public relations immediately stood up. He waved his hand behind him and took a tray from someone beside him. There was a stack of documents on the tray. He smiled apologetically. "This is a gift from the Mo family as an apology on behalf of our daughter. All the assets and documents that can be prepared within an hour are all here. After compensating all these, the Mo family will only have one house left. This kind of compensation is also very sincere. How about?" Snake carried Gu Mingming up from the sofa and hugged her in his arms. He said calmly, "My woman does not sell her tears." With that, he carried Gu Mingming away. Originally, he only wanted to punish her lightly and let his parents help Gu Mingming make the decision. He wanted to give Gu Mingming the warmth of a family. As for how far his parents could go, he did not care. But now the situation was different. Gu Mingming cried. Making her cry would escalate the situation. It was definitely not a problem that could be solved with money. After Snakel left, the two elders' faces turned extremely gloomy. They exchanged glances and understood that their son was not going to be kind. But he was busy coaxing his wife, so he left this matter to them. If they did not handle it well, they could forget about letting their son return to F country. So the two of them used the dignity of the F country's royal family and forcefully escalated this small matter into a diplomatic dispute between the two countries. And Snake could no longer be bothered with all these. He placed Gu Mingming in the car and sped all the way to Monsieur Company's CEO's office. He did not release his grip on the steering wheel even when the car was traveling at 140 miles per hour, as if he was afraid that Gu Mingming would disappear the moment he let go. But strangely, he didn't say anything along the way. He just held her hand tightly, and even trembled slightly. The moment Snake entered the CEO's office, he immediately took out the set of wedding rings that he had ordered long ago from the drawer. He held Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Tumeng, He Chen used 7 years to exchange for Zhao Masheng. Yang Gui used 16 years to exchange for Xiao Longnu. Feng Qingxue used 900 years to exchange for Bailey Tusu. What about me? Can I use the past 1,000 years in this life to exchange for you?" Snake. This place is... I'm not. Gu Mingming's pupils trembled violently. Her dazed state along the way slowly became clear. This was not the beast world. nor was it the modern world. It was the television series that she had watched with the beast deity. Chapter 1565. Snake slowly let go of Gu Mengmeng. He no longer wrapped his arms around her, but held one of her hands. Then he slowly knelt down with one knee on the ground. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said, "Tu Meng, I said before, I will only propose once in my life. Marry me, all right?" "The illusion you mentioned just now." Snake maintained his kneeling position and smiled. "You appearing here means that the doors of time and space have already opened. This is your original world, a four-legged snake, with your family and friends. As long as you are willing to come back, everything that happened in the past 19 years will become your memory. I will let you live in bliss for the rest of your life. But if you still want to return to the beast world, then everything here will just be an illusion. A dream that I spent 19 years in." Snake opened the ring box. A pair of snake-shaped rings lay quietly inside. Two snakes shared a snake gallbladder. Snake said before that when they were together, they were a complete pair of snakes. But if they were separated, the gallbladder would belong to the female snake. The male snake would not have a gallbladder and would definitely die. "Tu Meng, don't let me lose you again. Marry me, all right?" Countless memories squeezed into Gu Mengmeng's brain. Those television dramas that she watched with the beast deity were all replaced with her own memories. It was as if she had always been in a relationship with Snake. The memories of the two worlds intertwined and collided with each other. Gu Mengmeng only felt a splitting headache. She held her head and shook it continuously. She wanted to scream but could not make a sound. Snake was worried and his heart ached. He hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly and said deeply, "Tu Meng, don't be afraid. It's all right. I'm here. I will protect you. Forget everything in the beast world. Stay here. And I will accompany you, all right?" No. Gu Mengmeng clenched her teeth, her eyes bloodshot. She could not let go of Elvis and Leah. They were still lying in a pool of blood. The tragic deaths of Elvis and Leah kept flashing through her mind, as well as the promise she made on the day she mated with Elvis. She said, "Elvis, I love you. I will give myself to you. From now on, I will treat you as my pride, my sky and my husband. If you don't leave me, I will be with you in life. If you are in danger, I will use my life to pay for it." She had promised Elvis and Leah that no matter how many lies she had told, there was at least one thing that she would never lie to them. She would never abandon them, never. "I want to go back. I want to return to the beast world." Gu Mengmeng screamed. She bit the tip of her tongue harshly to keep herself awake. She told herself that these messy memories could not be trusted. Everything about Snake was seen on television with the beast deity in the beast world. Those memories did not belong to her. She reminded herself cruelly. Snake was already dead. The person in front of her was just an illusion. "I want Elvis. I want Leah. I don't want you. No." Gu Mengmeng screamed with all her might, using all her strength to push Snake away. Snake stumbled backwards and the ring fell to the ground. The male and female snakes separated from each other. The female snake had an extra gem, while the male snake was missing a gallbladder. The scene in front of him was distorted, like an oil painting soaked in water. With a light brush of the water, the oil paint faded away. Chapter 1566. The white fog had long dissipated and this was Gu Mengmeng's illusion. She looked around secretly but did not see the beast deity. Father, where are you? Come out quickly. I need you, father." Gu Mengmeng was sobbing and could not form a sentence or sentence. She could only run around aimlessly, shouting and begging. Vaguely, some shadows gradually formed into human shapes in the air. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her eyes and looked carefully. Frowning, Gu Mengmeng could not help but call out her name. "Wang Xiaoxin." Wang Xiaoxin smiled faintly with a tinge of guilt and heartache. She took 2 steps forward and hugged Gu Mengmeng gently in her arms. "Child, thank you, and sorry." Gu Mengmeng's mind was still in a mess. Everything happened too suddenly, and she could not make heads or tails of it. Wang Xiaoxin felt Gu Mengmeng's stiffness and held her shoulders with both hands. You don't have to be so guarded. We are not strangers, right? Maybe if I change my stance, you will be more relaxed? With that, Wang Xiaoxin's features became blurry in front of Gu Mengmeng. Then slowly, she turned into a white-robed, ethereal fairy-like beast deity. Gu Mengmeng felt that she had millions of questions to ask, but they were all stuck in her throat, and she could not say a single word. Sorry, I lied to you. Wang Xiaoxin held Gu Mengmeng's hand and sat back on that two-seater wooden chair. She still had a guilty smile on her face and sighed. The beast deity will not lie. This sentence itself is the biggest lie. Sorry, I lied to you right from the start. But please believe that I have no ill intentions. Gu Mengmeng jumped up from the chair and sniffled. Elvis and Leah. Don't panic, calm down and listen to me. That's my man. How can I not panic? Gu Mengmeng tugged at the corner of the beast deity's shirt and said, No matter what you lied to me, I will not hold it against you. Return Elvis and Leah to me. I beg you, return them to me. Wang Xiaoxin sighed and looked to the side with a dark gaze. Gu Mengmeng followed Wang Xiaoxin's gaze and saw a huge door. It was so huge that one could see the edge of it. She could only see a small gap in the door, and the person standing in the gap was Snake. Child, you asked me before if what you saw Snake experiencing in that world was a fantasy. I told you it wasn't. Whether this is true or not is up to you. With the 7 treasures gathered, the gate of time and space opened. If you cross over to the other side of the door, everything you saw about Snake will be your real memory, and not an illusion. Wang Xiaoxin stood up behind Gu Mengmeng and held her shoulders lightly with both hands, saying, Elvis and Leah are already dead. What's there for you to miss in the beast world? Why don't you transmigrate back to the modern world? With Snake protecting you and taking care of you, you can definitely live a happy life. As for everything that happened in the beast world, I will help you erase it and make you forget about it, as if it had never happened. This way you won't be in pain. Just like what we see in the TV series, you will have a simple and happy life. This is my compensation to you, okay? Chapter 1567. Gu Mengmeng bit her lower lip tightly and after a while, she apologized with a heavy sobbing tone. Akel, I'm sorry. Snake's brows were tightly knitted and did not relax, but his tightly pursed lips slowly relaxed, curling into a helpless smile. He stood there looking at the tears in Gu Mengmeng's eyes and sighed with a smile. Then he took a step forward and stepped out of the door, standing in the same world as Gu Mengmeng. That step had almost peeled off a layer of his skin. The pressure and friction from crossing through time and space made him feel unbearable pain, but he just gritted his teeth and endured it. He could not show any signs of weakness in front of Tumeng. He had to be strong to protect her, no matter where he was. With his palm facing up, Snake took 2 deep breaths to calm himself down before saying, Tumeng, come here. It was as if Gu Mengmeng's feet did not belong to her, as she took small steps towards Snake. Her eyes were fixated on his face the entire time, and the closer she got, the louder she sobbed. This was the man who had cut open his own chest for her. This was the man who had left his own world to go to a completely unfamiliar place to create a perfect future for her. This was the man who had once again crossed time and space for her. He was not stingy at all when he had spent 19 years of hard work for her. For a mere Gu Mengmeng, he had tossed his status, money, glory, respect, and even his life to the back of his mind. And what about her? Other than hurting him time and time again, what else had she done? Snake maintained his palm facing up as he waited for Gu Mengmeng to place her hand in his. But when Gu Mengmeng walked to him, she did not hold his hand but just pounced into his arms, hugging him tightly like a lost child, panicking and helpless, hugging a loved one and crying her heart out. Choking with sobs, she said, Akel, what should I do? Elvis and Leah are dead. What should I do? I'm so scared. I have nothing left. Sob, sob, sob. Akel, what should I do? This was the first time Gu Mengmeng had voluntarily thrown herself into his arms, the first time she had sought his help and the first time she had unreservedly displayed her weakness in front of him. Snake hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly with both hands, his lips curling into a deep smile. The things that he had once envied to the point of madness and jealousy to the point of wanting to kill had finally happened to him. At that time he had questioned her. Look for Elvis when you're sad. Look for Leah when you're injured. Then when will you think of me? Now she was looking for him. She hugged him and asked, "What should we do? Apung, what should I do? I'm so scared." It turned out that having a dream come true was not necessarily a happy thing. He would rather be envious and jealous for the rest of his life than let her cry like a child who had lost everything. Pressing his lips against the side of her ear, he gently kissed it and said in a deep and husky voice, "Who said you have nothing left? You still have me. Don't forget, no matter which world you are in, I'm an omnipotent powerhouse." Chapter 1568. Gu Mingming's tears were still hanging on her face as she stared at Snake with eyes full of anticipation. Snakel smiled as he pulled her back into his arms. He said deeply, "I've been through a lot in the mortal world, and it's all because of you. Tumeng, you must remember, you're the only person in this world who can ride on my shoulders. So don't be afraid, don't cry, wait for me to come back." Gu Mingming did not know what Snake wanted to do. She just felt a sharp pain in her heart. Instinctively, she grabbed onto Snake's clothes tightly. She did not know what she was denying and just shook her head violently out of instinct. Snake smiled and kissed her lips. This was the first time he truly kissed her. He kissed the real Gu Mingming. He pulled her into his arms forcefully, wishing he could rub her into his own chest. He said, "In the end, Zhuangzhou dreamed of a butterfly. You are a blessing and also a calamity. Tumeng, do you know? From the first time I saw you, I heard the beast deity whispering these words in my ear. There is no escape from this calamity." Gu Mingming felt that Snake, who was in her arms, seemed to have turned into nothingness. He was like a colorful bubble dancing in the summer wind, drifting further and further away. She could not catch up to him, catch him or touch him. "Akel! Akel! Don't! Ah!" Gu Mingming tried her best to hold on to Snake, but he eventually disappeared bit by bit. He stared at Gu Mingming with a smile the entire time. His last words were, "In the previous life and this life, I waited for you twice. This time, it is your turn to wait for me. Wait for me to come back. Don't abandon me again. Tumeng, I love you. Ah! Akel!" Gu Mingming screamed at the top of her lungs. But she could not summon Snake back. Once again, Snake had disappeared for her once again. That huge door slowly closed with Snake's disappearance. Creak crack. Gu Mingming looked at the closed door of time and space. She laid on the ground and could not get up. She opened her mouth and cried miserably, but could not make a single sound. After the door disappeared, a few figures appeared. It was as if they were originally standing behind the door and were blocked. "Exine, I'm back." The largest figure walked past Gu Mingming and directly stood in front of Wang Xiaoxin, hugging her in his arms. Wang Xiaoxin's eyes reddened. She tightly leaned into that person's embrace. Her heart, which had been calm for 1,000 years, was now surging. Her eyes were crying, but her lips were smiling. She choked with sobs for a while before saying, "I hate you to death. Why did you make me wait for so long? Sorry I'm late." That person hugged Wang Xiaoxin and kissed the top of her head. After hugging for a long time, he let out a sigh of relief and said, "Let's settle this little trouble first. If you continue to cry, you'll die." "Yes." Wang Xiaoxin nodded. Her eyes were filled with melancholy as she said indifferently, "Did I do something wrong?" The man replied, "In my eyes, everything about you is correct." Wang Xiaoxin chuckled and leaned into the man's arms. "Whales, you've changed. 1,000 years ago, you wouldn't have such a glib tongue." Whales did not comment. He just carried Wang Xiaoxin in front of Gu Mingming. Then, he kicked Gu Mingming from behind and said, "Hey Gu Tumeng, when are you going to stop crying? My son used his own life to close the door of time and space for you. Aren't you going to make a wish to exchange for your two good-for-nothings?" Chapter 1569. But with Gu Mingming's current mood, she really did not have the time to bother about who that person was. She just nodded her head hurriedly and placed her palms together in front of her chest, praying sincerely for Elvis and Leah to return. Gu Mingming kept her eyes shut, praying again and again in her heart, until a familiar and warm embrace embraced her gently, whispering into her ear, "Xiaomeng, sorry for making you worry." Gu Mingming suddenly opened her eyes, staring at the person in front of her without blinking. He looked down from above, like a deity. A head of black and lush hair casually draped behind him, as if it was dyed with ink, giving off a unique charm. Under a pair of straight eyebrows was a pair of slender peach blossom eyes, full of passion, making one fall into his eyes if they were not careful. He had a tall nose and moderately thick red lips, revealing a dazzling smile. "Hubby." Without another word, Gu Mingming directly pounced into Elvis's arms and hugged him tightly, crying, "You scared me to death. I thought I would never see you again, sob sob sob. How could you abandon me? You said that you would always take care of me, protect me, and not let me feel uneasy. How could you not keep your words?" Elvis allowed Gu Mingming to pound and hit his chest, only smiling and indulging her everything. He gently held her little fists and pressed them against his chest, kissing the top of her head, saying, "Yeah, it's my fault, it's all my fault." Xiaoming only has eyes for him? A furry tail swayed lightly, and a slender arm wrapped around Gu Mingming's waist. He did not pull Gu Mingming out from Elvis's arms, but stuck himself into Gu Mingming's arms in a flirtatious manner. Looking up, his slender and affectionate eyes were full of deep love. His thin lips outlined the contours of his face, making him look like a demon or a deity. That flirtatious blink of an eye made the entire world lose its color. "Let me see, Ioyo. Your eyes are swollen from crying? You're crying so hard. Looks like I've made a serious mistake this time." "Then Xiaomeng Meng, how are you going to punish me? Are you going to throw potatoes or pull my ears? I promise I won't dodge. Or, if you want to whip me with a small leather whip, that's fine too, get lost." Gu Mingming scolded with a thick nasal voice, but both her hands were wrapped tightly around Li's neck. She cried tears of joy when she regained what she had lost. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming while Gu Mingming hugged Leah. The scene of the three of them together had completed the entire world. The smile at the corner of her lips made the tears on her face look happy. After a long while, Wang Xiaoxin and Wales walked up to them after Elvis and Leah had calmed her down. Wang Xiaoxin pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and said guiltily, "I'm sorry. I made you go through all these hardships. Also, thank you for returning him to me." Gu Mingming looked at the beast deity whom she had always called father, and felt a little awkward. He opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. Gu Mingming did not say anything, but Leah narrowed his eyes and took a step forward to stand between Gu Mingming and Wales. He asked with a guarded expression, "Xiao Mingming, who is he?" Returning him to her? These three words sounded like adultery no matter how one listened to it. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.